And now, in theory, we're also live on YouTube. Here we go. All right, global gym battles. For those who don't know, global gym battles are team battles in Pokemon Pocket. These are very fun. And today we're going to be spectating the Italian Psyducks versus SBS. The match is going to start in just a little bit. I am streaming with a 10-minute delay. I'm going to point to that. So, managing my finger direction on this little box. I'm just you know, I won't be able to respond to chat during these. They're very competitive. There's a lot of prize money on the line. You know, a lot of pride on the line. Some of the best players in the world are in these teams, so I have to stream with a delay. But I will try to refer to the chat back in between games when I can. You know, it'll just be a bit delayed. All right. The first game is getting set up right now. I'll be spectating from the perspective of the Italian Psyducks, so they'll sort of be our heroes for today that we'll be following. And let's take a look at some information on the teams. I took copious notes about all the different teams. Okay, so the Italian Psyducks were apparently multiple different teams. It looks like they have some players from the Pokewins team. They're a very skilled team, up to date with the latest meta, it sounds like. SBS. Who is SBS? Solar Beam Syndicate from the Executor Tourney organizers. So if you've heard of the Executor tournament scene, SBS, the Solar Beam Syndicate, comes from them. All right, so you know there's some well-known groups from the Pokemon Pocket communities here. It'll be very exciting to see these two teams face off against each other. It looks like the stream for the first game is getting started. I'm going to go over there and start spectating that. Whoop, I am in the wrong chat. Wait a minute. Here we go. Okay. Okay. So the first game is going to get started in just a second. I'm going to pull that up on the screen, and while we're waiting for the players to get started, we'll go over some of the rules of the GGB, the Global Gym Battles, for those of you who aren't familiar. Give me just a moment to pull that up. All right, here we go. And we're going to put that there. Get that on the screen. Looks good. Okay. All right. I think we're all set up. Sorry, just responding to something in chat. There's a lot going on at once. Okay, so here we go. So with global gym battles, the way it works is we're gonna have two teams. You can see those on the left side of the screen. They're sort of their little icons. You got the Italian Psyducks, and you see like the Psyduck wearing I think that's a soccer shirt. I'm not sure. And then like you've got the SBS, the Solar Beam Syndicate, very clearly, you know, from the Executor tournament group. And they're going to keep playing until one team gets to 10 points, which means they have defeated 10 of their opponent's decks. So the way it works is each team will bring 5 players, and each player has 2 decks. If you defeat a deck, it's gone. It cannot come back to life. Unless you spend one of your special replay tokens, which I believe each team has 2, to replay the deck and play it again twice in a row. But doing so will sacrifice that player's other deck. So you can twice per game, twice per, you know, this entire thing, right? This entire team battle, you can sacrifice your first deck. Sorry, you can sacrifice your second deck to play your first deck again twice in a row. But otherwise, once a deck is defeated, it's gone, it's done, it's not coming back, and you have fewer and fewer options to try to counter the decks that are, you know, coming at you from the opposing team. So it's very strategic, right? You have to figure which player are you going to put forward, which deck is that player going to use, and when do you spend your replay tokens? Because once, a player is defeated, they're gone. A replay token can't save them. They're just done. You can only save, you use your replay token while the player has lost their first game, but hasn't played with the second deck yet. So very strategic, and the two teams just keep going until everybody is eliminated. I'm just rapidly typing some stuff in the chat right here, making sure we're all set up. All right, it looks like the two teams are getting underway. They're about to start the first match. This is going to be exciting. I didn't bring any water. Might have to get some water at some point. I got soup. Got a nice little bowl of soup that I made here. So, grab a snack, because this is going to be fun. This is a good way to start your Saturday with a nice, relaxing Pokemon Pocket epic stream. These are good matches. I don't know if you saw the previous live stream. There were good matches. There were some better plays than I've seen in like some of the top tournaments. And these are the players who win the top tournaments. Bixie's in this. You got Random Ways is in this. Not necessarily in this game that we're going to see today, but they're on teams competing in the GGB. It's like all of the best players are on teams competing against each other. It's so cool to watch. Oh, they're getting started. They're getting started. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. Might have to adjust the size of this a little bit. It's a little small. We can move stuff around. All right. The battle has begun. This is very exciting. And we're seeing a fire deck coming out. It looks like a Litten Charmander deck coming out from the Italian Psyducks. This has been a very popular deck. It's a powerful deck. If you get that early on-curve Charizard, that on-curve Incineroar, you can just dominate your opponent. Very powerful. I'm going to move the 10-minute delay thing out of the way. I feel like it's just kind of in the way a little bit. Let me just yoink that over here. That way we can have more room for the Pokemon game. Because that's what we're all here to see. Let me make that a little bigger. Let me just make that a little bit bigger. There we go. All right. So we can kind of see what's going on there. That looks good. All right, we got ourselves a game. And Litten versus Litten. This is a battle of the cats. We've got the Italian Psyducks are running the 30 damage, but I do 10 damage to myself, Litten. And SBS, the Solar Beam Syndicate, is actually running the just 20 damage Litten. But they get to go first. They do get to go first. So it's a battle of the Littens. We'll see how this goes. Alright. I'm just going to check one thing. Make sure that the stream is live because... no, it hasn't been 10 minutes yet. It hasn't been 10 minutes. At around the 10-minute mark, I have to make sure that the stream is live because there's a 10-minute delay. Oh, the delay is eating into the game a little bit there. Let me move that. Okay, there we go. Alright, so we've got a benched Pokemon. Looks like they've put... I believe that's a shiny Charmander on the bench. I apologize if the screen is a little pixelated. I can only make it as, good as the person's phone. I hope they add a spectator mode eventually. A spectator mode would be really good for things like this. Help with the casting and everything. Yeah, that's a shiny Charmander, all right. Cape goes down on the Litten, so the Solar Beam Syndicate has a much more powerful cat. Damage comes in. That's some solid damage. That cat's gonna go down pretty soon, but I don't think Italian Psyducks are gonna take this lying down. Oh, that was a good draw. Did you see that? They got it. They got the on-curve evolution. They got a bit of a choice here. They could save that rare candy, go for Charizard, or they could go for Incineroar right now. All right, yeah, no, they're going for it. They're going straight into Incineroar. Look at that. Oh, and it's the is that the 2-star one or the 1-star one? It's a full art Incineroar EX. and it's already taken damage, so you know it's a few more energy and it's gonna start wrecking with 140. All right, they're discussing. You're gonna see this a lot, even when there's an obvious move. The players are talking with their team. They're thinking, "Oh, wait, is there a better move we can make? Let's think about this," because they're all strategizing and trying to make the best possible plays. And that's what's so cool about global gym battles. It's not just one person piloting the deck. It's one person with their entire team in their ear saying, "Oh, come on, no, no, this is what you should do. Hey, no, look, if you play Sabrina this turn, you can get like a one energy." You'll see what I mean. In the last one we spectated, they used Erica to heal 10 damage from a Pokemon, and it mattered. It mattered. There are some crazy plays in these. Alright, so that's a tail, so that means the opposing Litten will stay burned. That's an extra 20 damage coming in. Oh, but they also have the rare candy. What's with all these on-curve rare candies? They also have Incineroar. So that burn could really matter now because it's going to chip down on their Incineroar. Are we going to see the battle of the burns here? Uh-oh. That's another 20 damage. The Incineroars are facing off. This is a wild mirror, but Italian Psyducks have recovered from the burn. And they're just playing Lily immediately, no hesitation. They just play that Lily, get their Incineroar healthy. Because remember, SBS is one turn ahead on energy because they got to go second. So their Incineroar will be able to use its 3 energy move much sooner. The Italian Psyducks have really got to make sure that their Incineroar can survive long enough to tank that and counter hit. Alright, you got 30 damage, it reapplies the burn. Burn triggers. They've been doing some great damage into that. Oh, and they got it again! That's so big! That is so big! Because they keep losing the coin flip on the burn, their Incineroar is going to tick down to 80. Even if they Lily it, even with the cape, it will still be in range of the Italian Psyduck's ultimate attack. That burn was clutch. That burn was so needed. This turns it around, even though, the Italian Psyducks, they went first. They were at a bit of an energy disadvantage. Because of the burn coin flips, it's reversed the advantage. Lily can't save this. Lily can't save this. That Incineroar is going to get checkmated next turn. Unless the SBS can do something to try to rescue it. Can't rescue anybody? Can they save this Incineroar, or is it going to go down? Oh my goodness, this is exciting. They're thinking. They're trying to find something they can do. They might just accept it. They might just do as much damage as possible. Yeah. They're like, all right, fine. Fine, we're just going to do as much damage to you as we can and go down. And they're still burned. That's brutal. Oh, and another Lily comes out. We see the Charizard. That's a natural evolution. No rare candy was used. Lily goes down. That Incineroar is now at 90 health, meaning it's not going to be KO'd by anything that SBS can bring next turn. This Incineroar is going to get another attack off. This is devastating. Italian Psyducks are just dominating. It was the burn coin flips. That made the difference in this mirror match. The Italian Psyducks had to go first, but they got the coin flips. They believed harder, and by the power of the heart of the cards, their Incineroar was able to pull through. But it's not over yet. Oh, it's not even close to over. SBS has got their Charizard online. There's the Stoke. And that Charizard is going to be able to start swinging for big damage coming up. You also have to remember that Italian Psyducks are out of Lilies. They have no more Lilies in their deck. They've used 2 already. They're considering what attack to use here, or maybe if they want to retreat, bring in their own Charizard. They're thinking about it. Yeah, the obvious move was probably the best in this case. Big damage to the opposing Charizard. Just try to take it down as much as possible. Alright, SBS is really on the back foot here. Ooh. I like the little flames. That is actually kind of a cool effect there. All right, Lily has gone down. This is important. If they can get a second Lily onto this Charizard, maybe a cape, right? They could have the ability to actually out-tank the Italian Psyduck's Charizard. Incineroar has just gone down. And the Italian Psyducks don't have any energy on their Charizard. This is nowhere near over. This is nowhere near over. SBS is not giving up. They're like, yeah, you defeated our Incineroar, fine. But we get to Charizard Stoke first now. Oh, yeah. All right. We see the Iono is played. That will shuffle the opponent's one card into a different one card. I think the plan there was, okay, maybe they have the Lily. Let's get rid of it. You know, whatever that is, let's mess up their plans. I like that, using Iono, not red card, just to sabotage your opponent's hand. Very smart play. These Italian Psyducks are really, really giving SBS a bit of a headache here. Now, this is the critical turn. Right, this is the critical turn. Italian Psyducks are threatening 150 damage. No way! No way they were able to get the Lily. They were able to get the Lily, meaning that the Charizard from SBS can tank 150 damage. But Italian Psyducks were ready for this. They planned for this. The other use of the Iono was to try to draw red so that their Charizard could deal 170 damage, so that even if they did draw Lily, the Italian Psyducks would still win. Boom! That's thinking like 5 steps ahead. That's some serious 5D chess right there. The Italian Psyducks take game 1. All right, we're gonna update that. The Italian Psyducks have defeated their opponent's Charizard deck. Beautiful plays. Italian Psyducks. All right, I'm just going to abbreviate that as IP. Italian Psyducks. And who was the player? Nosphere. Okay. All right. All right, game 1 was taken by the Italian Psyduck player Nosphere. Congratulations. That was well played. I like that this was a good mirror match. You know, some mirror matches are boring, but that was exciting. It kept going back and forth. We didn't know who was going to win. And it all came down to the Iono into red. Iono into Trainer Red. That's what won the game. Out of all the mirrors, all the coin flips, out of one person getting tails, the other person going first, right? Out of all of the randomness, it came down to Iono into Trainer Red. And that won the game. Deck building and good plays. Well done to Italian Psyducks. Really great. But remember, this is only the first game. You have to knock out 10 of your opponent's decks. Nosphere's opponent still has one more deck. This player is still alive. Right? They're still in it. SBS still has their full 5-team roster. They need to knock out another deck to take this player out of the running. So we'll see what happens in game 2. And I'm just gonna... Give me just a moment on that, though. I need to make sure that the stream has been posted in the proper places. Okay, looks like we're good there. Looks like we're good on YouTube. I'd like to increase the bitrate a little, but I think we're good. All right. Whoa. Whoa. Hold on. There we go. All right, they're waiting for the next match. It seems like the Solar Beam Syndicate is still trying to figure out who... I mean, they only have one option, right? They only have one option. No. They do have another option. So, Nosphere's opponent has to play their next deck. Or, or the Solar Beam Syndicate can use one of their very valuable replay tokens to allow the Charizard mirror to happen again. I wonder if that's what they're going to do. I wonder if they're actually going to use a replay token really early on. It looks like that's what they did. Yeah, that's what the delay was. They were deciding whether or not to use a replay token. It looks like they did use it. Wow. They're going to go for the mirror match here. Again. I don't know. I feel like Italian Psyducks played this really well. And they had a trainer card red to turn things around. You know, it's very bold to lose a mirror match and then say, you know what? I want to do it again. Respect for the Solar Beam Syndicate here. They're really trying. They believe that they could win this match if it were played again, and they've used the replay token. So we're gonna see another Charizard Litten mirror. I wonder if there's anything they could do differently this time. I mean, you know, both players got Rare Candy at about the same time. Both players got Evolutions at about the same time. The difference is that Italian Psyducks had Trainer Card Red. I mean, you can't change your deck in the middle of the match, right? So Italian Psyducks still have Trainer Card Red. I don't know. I don't know what SBS thinks their edge is here. Ooh. Oh, you see that? You see that, right? They got some good cards there. Yeah, Italian Psyducks deciding where to put the energy, right? Looks like they're going to go for the attack here. That's going to deal half of Charmander's health. One of the advantages of playing the 30 damage self-damage Litten is that you do have the ability to two-shot 60 health basics. So they are threatening a two-shot on that Charmander. You know, pick up an early price point, that's really good in this mirror. And that's another reason I think that the Italian Psyducks have a little bit of an advantage in this mirror match, because their Litten is more powerful than the opposing Litten. Yeah, I think the Italian Psyducks, you know, they just have these very subtle, very small improvements to the deck that make them just a little bit better in this mirror. Alright, what are they gonna do? I mean, if I were the Solar Beam Syndicate, I'd be worried right now. You know, if they can't evolve anything, Charmander could go down. You have to switch into your Litten. You have to start energy cycling your Pokemon, but that's not what you want to be doing. Another thing they could do is just allow Charmander to go down and start stacking energy on Litten, right? Hope to get the 3 energy. But if you do that, and you don't get Incineroar, it's tough. It's tough. Yeah, we see the retreat. They're just going to save Charmander. You know, you got to preserve that Charmander. Try to stall a little bit till you can draw what you need. I feel like it might have been, potentially, an interesting decision on the part of Solar Beam Syndicate to... Ooh. What, do you evolve the Charizard or the Incineroar here? Yeah, but why not both? Why not both? Italian Psyducks popping off right now. They just, oh, that's obscene. That is just unfair. They got both evolutions. And now Incineroar goes in. Boom. Massive damage. Burn goes off. Insult to injury, it's still burned. So that Litten is going to get wiped if it doesn't retreat. Oh, Solar Beam Syndicate. You know, what can I say? Executor is weak to Fire-type Pokemon. Going through this mirror a second time might not have been the best decision. Italian Psyduck not only seems to have a slightly better version of the deck, but they have way more luck points, too. You know, to be fair to Solar Beam Syndicate, though, you know, this could have gone either way. You know, we don't know what other decks they have. This might have been the right decision strategically. Maybe they felt like the mirror was going to be a coin flip. You know, maybe they felt like if they won that coin flip, they'd be in a stronger position later. So there's a lot more that goes into this than just one game. You know, they're not trying to win a battle. They're trying to win the whole dang war. You know, so there's a lot that goes into this. We got to respect that. We got to respect that. But I got to say, so Italian Psyduck is looking pretty good in this mirror. All right, we see another Charmander played. That's important. That's very important. And they cycle out the Litten. They don't want it to go down to burn damage. Very reasonable. You know, just trying to keep your Pokemon alive, doing everything you can to stay in the game. It's looking tough though. I mean, Solar Beam Syndicate, you know, they're doing everything they can. They're doing everything right in this battle, this match, right, this game. But Italian Psyduck just, you know, they got pretty lucky. I gotta say, they got really lucky with that double evolution. Ugh, the double on curve evolution was just. How does that happen? How does that happen? Yeah, no, Nosphere is just stepping through their opponent here. All right, a little bit of a Professor Oak. Maybe they can draw something to get them out of this, you know, tough spot they're in. Just something. Anything. They're trying, you know, they're not giving up. Incineroar comes out. Okay. They got it, you know, the slow and steady evolution. And with that cape, it can survive the Italian Psyduck's ultimate Incineroar attack. It'll survive with 10 health, but it can survive. That's the important thing. And I gotta be careful, because if that Incineroar goes down, that's 2 prize points. But, you know, I'm just doing what they can to stay in this. Alright, that's 30 damage, plus an additional burn, 20. And the burn will stick, so that'll deal another 20 damage during the checkup phase when the turns switch over. We could potentially see a switch into Charizard here, or they might just attack. Hovering on that Iono. Trying to figure out what's the best play here. But even if they Ionoed into a Trainer Red this turn, they wouldn't be able to play it until next turn. Trying to decide whether or not Cape is worth it here. Are they just going to attack? Yeah, that's it. They're just going to attack. Boom. 140 damage, went for the simpler play. I will just say this, though. If it were me, I would have wanted to try to put a Charmander on the bench with Iono or Pokecom. That way, if that Incineroar doesn't get healed, you could pick it off, right, with the chip damage. That would have crossed my mind. Because if, you know, if somehow Italian Psyducks lost their Incineroar this turn, they wouldn't have any extra damage to bring in. If they got Sabrinaed, right, they wouldn't be able to retreat right away. So I'd kind of just want something on the bench, you know, for options, but I think they're pretty solid. I mean, I don't see how their Incineroar could possibly go down. I can't think of anything that could do it. Yeah, it's rather unfortunate. You know, they had to spend a lot of energy retreating their Pokemon early on to keep them alive, especially due to the pressure of that 30 damage Litten. And that's why I think that Litten was really good from the Italian Psyducks. I think the self-damage Litten is better because it pressures that 2-turn KO, right? I think that was a really good choice by the Italian Psyducks to run that higher damage Litten, even if it damages itself, especially if it damages itself, because you can trip Incineroar's ultimate attack later on your own. It's so good. I think that Litten is better. I think that Litten is just better. All right, we see the cape come down on Incineroar with Lily. So this Incineroar is now at 180 health. It could survive a Charizard hit with red, right? Does big damage into the Charizard. This looks like GG. This looks like checkmate. I don't see how the Solar Beam Syndicate could possibly survive this. Italian Psyducks are doing great. They're doing so good. Yeah, I don't know what Solar Beam Syndicate's second deck was, but it must not have been that good against Charizard for them to decide to use the replay and play the mirror a second time. Especially into that 30 Litten. I keep talking about it, but that 30 Litten, you know. Boom. And that's GG. Yeah. Respect for Solar Beam Syndicate. You know, they tried to fight it out. They tried to find something, but it just wasn't happening. All right, Nosphere has swept their opponent with a single deck. And we saw this in the previous match when we were looking at Squad Zero. The Charizard deck is a very powerful deck for these team battles. Because if you get lucky, if you get that rare candy early, which they did twice in a row, you can just sweep. You know, you can just knock out deck after deck after deck. This Charizard deck is very good for bursty wins. I don't know if it would ever win a tournament. I don't think it's quite consistent enough for like tournament wins. But for stuff like this, where you just want to take a few wins, it's very good. It's very good, very powerful. All right, let me update the game standings as well. Nosphere has won games 1 and 2. I never got to see who their opponent was. Just give me 1 second before we get into the next game. Wait a minute. There's just something I gotta check on real quick. GP Italian Psyducks versus SBS. It's not the stream link though. Let me grab the stream link. Let me see. Sorry, just give me a moment. Now that the delay is over, I need to post this various places. Trying to just figure out how to do that real quick. Just bear with me for one quick moment. Then we'll get into the second game. Alrighty. Do. Right, and little posty post in various places. All right. And it looks like they are getting started with the next game now, so I can switch over to that. And here we are. All right. So it looks like the SBS, you know, the Solar Beam Syndicate, is trying to use a water deck, and that makes a lot of sense. You know, water puts out fire. Maybe they can put out this fire deck's crazy lead and just try to come back in this match. And we saw this last time, right? We saw this with Squad Zero versus the Power of Chaos, where Squad Zero got that early lead with Charizard, right? But then Power of Chaos was able to come back with their next player. Because, you know, if you lose your first deck, you have to play the second deck of that player, right? But once that player is defeated, you can switch to any other player and run any of your decks. So now, Solar Beam Syndicate had a much, you know, better choice. They could choose any deck to fight this Charizard deck, any deck that they had still alive. And they decided to play this Ricario water hybrid deck. I'm guessing it's a Ricario just from the looks of the energy. I don't know yet, but a Ricario is pretty good against this kind of thing. You know, I'm actually really surprised no one has run an Ricario deck with something like a Comfey Giratina Psychic Hybrid. Because I feel like that would be really good to prevent the Incineroar burn. All right, they're trying to figure out where they put their energy. It's going on Litten. This is actually funny. Even though Froakie only does 10 damage, it actually increases to 30 damage when you're attacking the fire type because it's weak to water. So Froakie could actually two-shot Litten. That's why it's a little bit of an interesting choice there to put the energy on Litten because what is it gonna survive? I don't know. I don't know if that Litten is gonna live. Yeah, it takes a lot of recoil there, but the recoil doesn't matter. It was gonna get two-shot by the Froakie anyway. Yeah, Solar Beam Syndicate, you know, putting on a big threat with this Froakie. And that's one of the powers of Froakie. Even though it's generally a very weak card, it does very well in the early game against these Charizard-style decks. Giving everybody a shout out in the chat. Hey Hipsis, hey Silent Shiranui, how are you doing? Zesty Boy. Kevin, how are you? Hope everyone's doing well. Again, I'm sorry I can't respond to these things in real time. We got the 10-minute delay going on because, you know, a very serious match, very serious competition, so I have to stream with a delay just to make sure that no one could use my stream for cheating. All of the Global Gym Battle teams always request a 10-minute delay on all streams. Big damage comes on to Litten, and it does go down. So, Italian Psyduck, bring in the Charmander. You know, that Oricorio is on the bench. It's not looking good. There's no rare candy. All they can do is go for another 20 damage with the Charmander. That's it. Just chip damage. And honestly, even if they get their rare candy, it'll probably be too late because the Oricorio will come online and then just start sweeping. Oh. Greninja is live. Greninja is live, and the Italian Psyduck player, Nosphere, immediately surrenders. GG. Well played. That's game. Alright, Anton has taken out that devastating Charizard deck, giving our first win to the Solar Beam Syndicate. Alright, it's 2-1. You know, 2-1. Nosphere has lost their first deck. Game 3 goes to SBS Anton. Alright, so Solar Beam Syndicate's still in this. They picked a very good counter deck for Charizard. Great early damage with Froakie, and the luck has finally switched sides. Got that rare candy, got that Greninja. One thing I'm noticing, Italian Psyduck is more willing to just surrender, I think, when the game is lost. Solar Beam Syndicate, you know, they were fighting it out to the end. Italian Psyduck is like, there's no possible way we can win. Concede. You know, both are respectable. Both are respectable ways of going about it. Alright, SBS Anton is now going to have to face what appears to be a Darkrai deck. I'm guessing this is Darkrai Giratina. But luckily, they start Oricorio. This is going to be a really powerful option for tanking and stalling the Darkrai out as much as possible. Yeah, the Oricorio water deck is a really smart pick in these team battles. You'll see a lot of teams run it because if you come up against a player like Nosphere who runs double EX, it could be just a huge threat. It could be a game-winning threat. But Nosphere is running the Kamala, You know, it's been a very popular pick in Giratina Darkrai decks because it has the ability to one-shot a Ricorio. And so you'll see it a lot. You'll see it a lot, right? I wouldn't be surprised if they don't even put energy on Darkrai here, if they just start powering up the Komala instead. Yeah, sure enough. Energy goes right onto the Komala. No hesitation. They know how to play this matchup. And that's a really good option for the deck. I run Komala in Giratina Darkrai. I've started doing that too. I think everyone's been doing it. I was one of the first. I will say that. I was one of the first people to do it. I just didn't make a video about it because I was very, very tired that day. Yeah, Kamala is such a strong option for this deck. The ability to counter the Ricorio is huge. It's devastating. All right, water energy does go down onto the Ricorio, but we're also seeing that it's probably too late. Yeah, there's the leaf. Ooh, retreats right into the Komala. This is just gonna be massive damage. Boom! Ricorio goes down. 1 prize point picked up for Nosphere. But I will say this. That doesn't mean you win. You put 2 energy on Komala, and you attacked. Your Giratina only has 1 energy. It needs to stall for 2 more turns to build up. Your Darkrai's got nothing. And if any of your EX Pokemon go down, that's 2 prize points. So it's, you know, it's not a perfect situation. Just because they got rid of a Ricorio does not mean by any stretch that Nosphere is winning. Actually, they might be losing. Because Anton has got that Giratina set up. You know, it's very close to being able to come onto the field to start wrecking. They could still get Greninja at any time. It's actually looking good for Anton right now. They're thinking the Solar Beam Syndicate. Trying to figure out what they should do here. I'm actually kind of surprised they put the energy on Furoki. Okay, yeah, and they power up Giratina, yeah. So, yeah, I think the energy there was just an options energy, right? I can retreat next turn if I need to. I can attack if I get the evolution. Just having options is good. Mars goes down. Might as well. You know, you had 2 Mars in your hand. Force them to shuffle. Get rid of any rare candies or stuff like that. But now there's an awkward choice. It's kind of like, what do you do? Yes, Komala could take out the Greninja. Sorry, the Froakie, sure. That doesn't win you the game. That doesn't win you the game. You still have no energy on your EX Pokemon. They're not going to be ready. What do you do? Alright, so this is interesting. Italian Psyducks decide not to attack here. They could have wiped out the Froakie, but they chose not to. Their thinking was, you know, 300 IQ play here, right? If they wipe out the Froakie, the enemy Giratina comes in and starts sweeping. They don't want that. So instead, they start powering up their own Giratina, put the Rocky Helmet on Komala, and hope that if the enemy Giratina comes in and takes out Komala, then they can bring in their Giratina, tank for a turn, counter kill the opposing Giratina, and win the game. That's sort of their rough game plan. It's actually interesting that they had a couple options that turn. Like, one other thing they could do was put the energy on Darkrai, right? And try and use Darkrai as your Giratina counter. Another thing you could have done was, you know, try to draw for a Sabrina, maybe. But they definitely made a very safe, very mature play. I think probably the right call here. So well played by Nosphere and the Italian Psyducks. I think, you know, that safe, careful decision to build up power was the right one. Wow. Rather than bringing in the Giratina and starting to attack, actually, they just attack with Froakie. I'm surprised. I'm actually really surprised. I didn't expect that at all. I did not expect that. To both players, they're playing around that win con. Neither one wants to be the first one to bring on Giratina, risk it going down. They're thinking. They're thinking like Doctor Strange. They're calculating every possible future. What if they evolve into Greninja and use Cyrus? What if they, switch in and start attacking? What if Shaman Mega evolves? That's not possible, but, every possible future. And even a few impossible ones, they're thinking about it. All right, Giratina gets the energy here. It is ready to attack. This means that we could see Giratina just come in and start ending the game. But they got to get rid of that Froakie first. And that Shaman heal will make it so it can survive another turn of Darkrai's poke. So the continuation we're looking at is Komala takes out Froakie, Giratina takes out Komala, Giratina takes out Giratina, and the Italian Psyducks win. So that's what's going to happen unless the Solar Beam Syndicate, piloted by Anton, can do something to resolve the situation. What can they do? What can they do? They're strategizing. They're thinking. And Solar Beam Syndicate, they don't like to give up. We've seen that so far. Even when the game is over, they don't give up. And I remember from the Squad Zero versus Power of Chaos, Squad Zero was able to make some incredible comebacks. Incredible comebacks. But we haven't seen those comebacks from SBS yet. We haven't seen them pull that off yet. I want to see if they also have that Squad Zero comeback potential, All right, they were at time. They tossed an energy onto Giratina, and it didn't even seem like they had time to bellow. I think, SBS just sort of ran out of time there. We're seeing some very quick plays from Italian Psyduck that's like, come on, guys. You lost this. Just concede. You could kind of get that vibe. Just like, come on, next game, let's go. Nosphere takes out the Froakie, and 150 damage with Darkrai Poke plus Giratina is being threatened on SBS's Giratina. If they can't resolve that, give it a cape, something, it's just game. Oh, we see a Ricario go onto the bench. If you take out the Komala, then bring in a Ricario, you could stall. And maybe then bring in a Greninja, use Cyrus to steal their Giratina, but it's too late. It's too late. I just don't think there's enough time. Even if you full retreat into a Ricario right now, it gets taken out by Komala. The Komala would had to have gone down earlier. Now this is kind of funny. I think Italian Psyducks were hovering over the concede button for a second there. Ooh. Ooh. Giratina's got cape. I don't think that cape will save it, though. Yeah, I don't think that cape will save it. Guzma gets played, dealing effectively 20 damage to the Giratina by removing its superhero cape. Darkrai Poke goes down, dealing a fantastic 20 damage to that Giratina. And we see the retreat into Giratina. So far, this is 170 damage. And Italian Psyducks take game 4. Well played to Nosphere and team. Adding yet another game to Nosphere's kind of collection of wins right there. And Italian Psyducks continue their 2-game lead over their opponents. Very well played. Fantastic. Yeah, this is some quality gameplay we're seeing from Italian Psyducks. They're just very methodically running over their opponents. They did get a little lucky in that mirror match, but I also think that they picked better cards for the mirror match. And they had a very good response in their second deck after Charizard, right? They had that Giratina Darkrai with the Komala, to take out the Oricorio, correctly predicting that an Oricorio water deck would probably be used to counter Charizard. So they preemptively countered the counter pick. So much thinking that goes into building these decks and these teams. Really well played by the Italian Psyducks. They're doing a fantastic job. And SBS, they're playing great decks. They're playing really well. So far, we haven't really seen a lot of situations that let them express their skill as players. So I'm really excited to see what Anton will bring to the table next. Just going to check the chats real quick, see if folks are saying anything. It kills me I can't respond in real time to everybody, but I do want to, just try to check when I can, see if folks are saying stuff, and just say hello. All right. It's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty good. Let's see what our next game is. Are they ready for Game 5? Yep, it looks like Game 5 has begun. I'm gonna pull that up. Alright, so we're on to Game 5. The Italian Psyducks are facing off against a Meowscarada deck. Well played by Anton. That's a good deck. That's a good deck to be fighting Giratina Darkrai. And it looks like they will be using Call for Help. Put some extra Meowcats into your hand. Maybe an owl or two. Now, the reason that Red Card and Mars are really popular is against this deck. 6 cards in your hand just disappear and are replaced by 3, thanks to Mars. Great bargain. Destroy 3 cards for the price of 1. And that Oak has just been deleted. That's devastating. That's got to be devastating for SBS. Italian Psyducks really doing well. And that's why we see them running so many Mars and so many Red Card. It's for this situation, so you could just completely devastate your opponent when they overdraw like that. You're deciding whether or not they want to drop a Poketool this turn. It is a little early. They've got the cape, they've got the Rocky Helmet, but they're not sure where they want those yet. The longer you can delay that choice, the better. Alright, Giratina's got its second energy. Now, the one risk of playing Mars is, yes, you get to eliminate your opponent's hand, but maybe they draw better cards. And we see the evolution here. Very early evolution, which is a little bit unusual. Normally, you'd want to keep spamming Call for Help, right? On the Sprigatito there. So, or the Sprigato. I often forget how many syllables are in the name. I'm not doing it on purpose. I've gotten some people say, you're doing that on purpose for engagement. I'm like, I'm not. I just don't know how to pronounce things. Evolving into the Florigato is a little questionable here because they don't get to keep drawing. But I'm guessing that they have Meowscarada in hand, which is why they did this. Because next turn, they get the evolution and then they start sweeping. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. Alright, we see Pokeball is played. They got the Komala. Not so useful in this situation, unfortunately. Komala is kind of funny in that it can tank a hit from Meowscarada, whereas Darkrai can't. But still, it doesn't do that much damage. You could argue that Komala is a better counter to Meowscarada than Darkrai is. I could see that, but neither of them were particularly good. The only way you beat the Meow deck is to take it out before it starts evolving, and it's already started to evolve. It's already too late. The Meowscarada is probably on its way. Alright, we see the Poketools get played. That cape will allow Darkrai to survive 1 hit from Meowscarada. Trying to decide if they should put Komala on the bench or not. I bet they do it. Yeah, they did it. Why not? You know, it doesn't hurt. I might as well. It can't hurt to put a little Kamala on the bench. Now, do they have it? Was it all a bluff? Was it a bluff? No, they have it. Of course they have it. That was the only reason for that evolution next turn. They had to have it. Alright, we see Meowscarada coming online, and that's gonna just bulldoze this Giratina. Erica. Yep. That'll make it able to survive Darkrai. And it's looking like the Italian Psyducks have been backed into a corner here by Anton's deck. That 20 damage chip is nowhere near enough. Darkrai comes online. But, I mean, how do you fight this? How do you fight this? Darkrai can do 100 damage to Meowscarada, but it would live with only 10 health. If they don't get a healing item next turn, Darkrai could get taken out by an owl. It'd be funny if Rowlet ends up assassinating the Darkrai, if that's how this game ends. That would be pretty funny. No, it's just over. It's just over. Trainer card red. I haven't seen Meowscarada decks run those lately, but apparently this one decided to. Anton takes game 2. Alright, that's going to be our second win for the Italian Psyducks. Sorry, for the Solar Beam Syndicate. Yeah, the Solar Beam Syndicate is hanging in there. You know, the Italian Psyducks only have a 1-deck lead, which is pretty significant, but it's definitely achievable. And beating a Meowscarada deck is not easy. Those decks have the potential to get really lucky and wipe you out. You know, they can deal with a lot of different decks. Now that Nosphere has finally been taken down by Anton, the Italian Psyducks need to figure out who they're going to bring. And they have a lot of options now. You know, this counter pick is the best counter pick. You have 4 players, 8 decks to choose from. You have a lot of options. The Italian Psyducks are going to deliberate for a little bit and see exactly who they want to bring here, right? What gives them the best chance against Meowscarada? Are we going to see another fire deck? Maybe like a Turt-style deck? Are we going to see a deck with all basic Pokemon? Do they have their own Meowscarada deck that they want to try to bring in for a mirror match? Lots of options. We could even see like a Snorlax deck, right? Snorlax is pretty funny against Meowscarada because Meowscarada would need 3 hits to take out Snorlax. Lots of options. Lots of good options. While they're talking about that, a word from our Sableye. I don't have sponsors, but I have a Sableye, and it's cute. I really like this Sableye. GoFest is coming soon. Actually, that's where I got this amazing Gengar, this beanie Gengar. I can't describe on stream how fun it is just to touch this Gengar. It is like the plushest thing ever. And it's full of beans. And it's just the most tactile, amazing thing to hug in the world. Probably wrong audience for this. I know most of the people who watch me are, according to YouTube, hardcore gamers. And watch me because I was the Wargroove World Champion 2nd place, and because I'm good at Pocket. But I don't know. Plushie people can watch me too. I like the plushies. Oh. Yeah, the Italian Psyducks are really thinking about this. I've got to switch streams. Hold on a second. We're gonna switch streams for just a sec. Alright, and it looks like we've got the next deck that has been committed to this fight. Let's take a look at it. Nyet. Oh, slightly different phone. Gonna have to maneuver my screen a little bit. Why can't all phones be the exact same shape? Gosh darn it. Nyet. Nyet. Trying to get that to fit there. Yeah, this is a much bigger phone, so there's a lot more we can see on the screen. A little bit laggier though. Will be a critic of phones. I don't know about this particular phone. It doesn't quite seem to meet my expectations. And it seems like, sure enough, they're going for a fire deck. This seems to be like a Turtonator style Charmander fire deck. A very good pick against Meowscarada. Now, ideally, you want to start Turtonator in this situation. You know, hold on. This phone is just too big. Let me just shrink this a second because it's eating too much of the screen. All right, just shrink it a little. Yeah, this is a beefy phone. This is a very beefy phone. Okay, there. It is eating less of the screen now. So ideally, you kind of wanted to start Turtonator here. I feel like with Hui, but with the rare candy and Charizard they got in their hand, and we'll make a special exception. We'll make a special exception and go right into the Charizard. Now they're thinking about what to do. Like even in a situation like this, where 99% of us would just be like, "I put all my Pokemon on the bench, put energy on Charizard, and attack." In these battles, the players really think. They want to make sure they're making the best possible decision. They want to talk everything through with their team, because if you lose here, it's not just you; it's the whole team that'll suffer the loss. So everyone works together to try to make sure they're making the best plays. Even in situations like this, where they're doing basically what I said. I put all my Pokemon on the bench and attack! They still want to, make sure that there's not a better play first. The player we're spectating, by the way, goes by Eric from Italian Psyducks, and they're up against the Solar Beam Syndicate player Anton. Or Anton IO Safe. Yeah, massive damage to that Sprig. I mean, Charmander can do 40 damage to it. It's so much with that super effective hit. Ironically, this is a situation where you might actually not want to evolve into Charizard. You might just want to take the Sprig out immediately. It's a tough call. It's kind of a tough call. They're thinking about it. The evolution this early? Wow, with Cape. With Cape. That early evolution, we talked about this. It almost guarantees that they've got Meowscarada. You don't do this unless you've got Meowscarada. It's the only explanation. Wow, okay. Italian Psyducks have some choices right now. Hui will end your turn, but it adds 2 energy to Turtonator. One thing we could potentially see is a Turtonator rush. They could retreat Charmander into Turtonator, put energy on it, Hui it, and then start sweeping next turn. But it won't have enough to one-shot a Meowscarada. And you run the risk of entering a long, protracted battle where the Meow player just keeps evolving and evolving and evolving, and there's nothing you can do. The other hand, they could blitz for Charizard right now, but they don't have any Lilies in hand. If they blitz for Charizard, they'll never be able to play Hui, right? They need a Stoke, and they're at risk of suffering massive damage from Meowscarada. It looks like that's the play. Looks like they're going for it. They're going for the Charizard. Trying to figure out where to put that second energy. They put it on Charizard, and they're going for Stoke. I'm surprised they didn't go for the Sabrina stall here. You go for Sabrina stall, they can't both retreat and attack you with Meowscarada in the same turn. Yeah, but they're saving that Sabrina. Might need it later to take out the Decidueye Yaks, so they kind of want to hold on to that. Charizard is ready to start swinging for 170 damage. And with the damage already on that Floragato, even if it evolves into Meowscarada, I don't believe it will be able to survive Charizard without help from something like an Erica. There's Meowscarada. It normally has 170 health. That's the thing. Even with Leaf Cape, I don't think it could survive Charizard, because Charizard does 170 damage. There it is. Massive damage onto the Charizard. We got a little bit of an evolution there. And they got the full shiny line, I'm just noticing. All their cards are shiny. Wow. Arik kicking butt. Deciding not to evolve. Interesting. Interesting! Most players wouldn't hesitate to evolve there. I guess their thinking was they want to put energy on the Turtonator, right? So if they had evolved, the Charmeleon wouldn't be able to attack or retreat next turn. So they're thinking ahead, thinking of all the possibilities, right? They want to keep it Charmander so it can retreat for free, or for cheap, for 1 energy. Smart play. Smart play. This is how you can tell you're watching some good players. They could evolve, but they choose not to preserve their retreat costs. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah, they put energy on the owl. You know, they're just prepping for that Decidueye. But immediate Sabrina from Arik. They're like, no. You don't get energy. That's not how this works. That's not how this works. And with that devastating destruction of the owl, I don't believe there's much they can do. Even if Meowscarada comes online right now, it will be one-shot by Charizard, even with Leaf Cape. I can't imagine a single play that could possibly save Anton right now. SBS doesn't surrender. They must have a rule or something, like they never surrender, because, I mean, well, GG. You know, respect, never surrender. I never retreat, right? That's a fantastic win from Arik. And Game 6 will be taken by the Italian Psyducks. Well played. Well played. The Italian Psyducks are looking so good. They've got a full 2-deck, 1-player lead over their opponent. SBS has 2 players sent to the Shadow Realm with all 4 of their decks. 2 players sent to the Shadow Realm out of a team of 5. That's got to be rough. That's got to be intimidating. You know, mad respect for SBS. They never give up. They never surrender. But they've really got to pick a good deck to take out Arik, or they are in trouble. Like, I mean, look at this situation, right? The Solar Beam Syndicate has only managed to take out one of the Italian Psyducks players. And in doing so, they lost 2 of theirs. It's not great numbers. Can they come back, though? Can they come back? They gotta think now. Because, you know, now it's their chance, right? Whenever you see even numbers on the scoreboard, it's their chance. It's their chance to pick a new player with a new 2 decks. And they gotta pick something that can deal with this crazy Turtonator Charizard fire deck. And I'm gonna have a bite of soup, because it has been sitting here getting cold. I need like a little eating soup icon for the screen. Oh, they're going right into the neck. Wow, they picked fast. They picked fast. I would have thought they would have, you know, deliberated a little bit more. Give me one more bite of soup real quick. That's good soup. Not to brag, but I make a very good soup. Alright, what are they going to do here? It looks like this is... I can't see what their energy is. Let me just try to drag the game down a little bit there. we can kind of get a guess as to what deck they're bringing. I can't see it. Gosh darn it, this weird phone size. Nah, it's my own fault. I gotta stretch the thing. We'll find out in a sec. My impatience will be addressed eventually. I just want to know what their deck is. What do they pick? Come on, show me the deck. I want to see it. Oh, double Litten. Double Litten. That's a rare one. Normally, you don't see decks running 2 Littens. Like the standard Charizard deck is 2 Zards, 1 Incineroar line. You don't usually run double Litten. Oh, this is interesting. It could be like double Litten Turtonator, maybe. Could be double Litten 1 Zard. I don't think that's as good though. I don't know. I don't know. The reason you don't usually see double Litten is because Incineroar takes 3 energy. It's too much. You can't power up to Incineroar over the course of the game. Not usually. So if they're running double Litten, it's got to be accompanied by something like a Turtonator, or they're not running anything else with it. It's literally just to Incineroar. You know, that's the only way you could account for all the energy. Alright, well, they get to go second. You know, they've got that early attack. And it seems like they are running the 30 damage Litten, which is going to be very powerful into this Charmander. Yeah, that's a lot of damage. Oh, no. Oh, no. They're bricked. Arik is bricked. They've got nothing. They've got nothing. Oh, no. I keep telling you, the power of that 30 damage Litten is insane. It's about to win them the game because Arik can't evolve in time. Yeah, Sabrina's stall is best try. You know, in chess, we talk about best try, where you know you've lost, but maybe you could trick your opponent to make a mistake. This is best try, but it's GG. It's GG. There's no winning this. Wow, Arik bricked. That's the risk of playing too many Charizard decks. Eventually, this will happen. And that's why it doesn't really win tournaments as much, not the big ones. Yeah, Solar Beam Syndicate did not make the mistake. They are taking the win. Oh, they're flexing now. They're flexing. It would have been cooler to just end it with the Litten. That would have been more stylish. The flex right here. Incineroar. Rah! Alright, Charmander goes down. And you has taken the game. What a way to go. What an actual way to go. Game 7. Solar Beam Syndicate Dew. Yeah. That does happen. Yeah, that does happen. Making up for that bad luck earlier, you know? Dew is just coming in and saying like, No, 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 no. We learned our lesson. We're using the good Litten now. We're using the good Litten. Oh, that was kick butt. The Italian Psyducks have not used any of their replays. We could see a replay there, but I think they're just going to go for their second deck here. Yeah, I think Arik is just going to bring in their second deck. It appears to be a Greninja, Oricorio, Water Electric hybrid deck. You've got the double Irida, right, for the Oricorio stall. You've got the Guzma for the anti-cape tech. You've got 2 Cyruses, no Sabrinas, and a Giratina as a finisher card. The deck does very well into things that like to try to stall out, poke down Oricorio with tanky EX Pokemon. Because with the Shaman and the double Irida, you can stall almost indefinitely against things like Incineroar Burn. So yeah, that looks like a pretty good deck for dealing with the Incineroars. But they haven't shifted to it yet. I wonder if they're considering using a replay here. Personally, I think the Oricorio would be an excellent swap. But we'll see what the Italian Psyducks decide. Some soup. It's good soup. The trick is to boil it for a very long time. You know, while practicing good food safety, but you want the ingredients to really like cook. That's how you make good soup. I feel like people don't make good soup anymore these days. You know, they just put something on the stove for like an hour. That's not nearly good enough. 2 hours? 4 hours. 4 hours minimum. Minimum for good soup. Just saying. You get the quality soup tips on the Sneaky Dragon Pokemon Pocket channel. They should start like a Pokemon cooking channel. Cooking with Sableye. Yeah. What would we make? Farfetch'd in an orange sauce? You are evil. The Italian Psyducks are still deciding what to do here. Farfetch'd in an orange sauce. Oh my god. Sableye, what are you doing? You know, like a little olive oil pan-fried Magikarp with a side of rice. I mean, we're never gonna forget that Pokemon episode where Ash tried to eat a Magikarp. It did not go well. Alright, the Italian Psyducks are still deliberating. I wonder what they're discussing right now, because it seems to me like the correct answer would be to just go for that other deck we were looking at. Maybe they feel like Turtonator would be very powerful against the Litten deck. I'm not sure. Because strictly speaking, Charizard does have better acceleration than Incineroar, right? Charizard, you evolve it, you stoke, you attack. Incineroar, you evolve it and attack right away, but with a weak attack. You attack with a weak attack again, and then turn 3. Then you can use your 40 damage thing. So it's hard to say which is better, actually, in a duel, right? Because Incineroar will do enough damage to KO you by turn 3, whereas Charizard's turn 3 is the second 150 damage. So I feel like even if you're running 2 Lilies, Charizard will take you out by the end of turn 3. Incineroar maybe does, maybe doesn't. Yeah. Yeah, so I think Charizard's better in the duel. I'm waiting to see what's going on here. The players are still talking about this. I can't hear what they're saying. I'm muted in the Discord, so I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking about. So I guess we'll have a short word from our sponsors, except we don't have any of those. So, did anyone see the new Ultra Beast stuff? I'm just saying. Like, I had a very fun video if you want to hear what the new Ultra Beasts sound like. There's a very fun video on YouTube. Every new Ultra Beast is a music genre, and I tried to find some royalty-free music that was from the genre to play for each Ultra Beast. You can check it out. All of the new, seriously, like Ultra Necrozma's attack, Shoegaze, right? We have Buzzhole, Big Beat. You know, we got Two Step from I forgot who has Two Step. That might be Formosa. I'm not sure. I'm not sure who has Two Step. I'm getting my Ultra Beast mixed up. But every single Ultra Beast has an attack that's like a music genre. It's very cool. It's very cool. Many music experts have been telling me that the song I found for Grindcore was not actual Grindcore. But, you know, that's why I have a pinned comment where people can vote on the best, you know, copyrighted song that's on YouTube that they think matches it. And then, you know, you can go watch that video if you want to hear, like, the real, you know. Yeah, I check it out. It's a pretty cool video. I don't know. I want to talk to chat. Like, normally I talk to chat during delays like this, but because of the 10-minute delay, I can't. I'm in the future, or the past, depending on your point of view. Yeah, we're just waiting for the next game. We're just waiting for the next game. Just sit back, relax, grab a snack. I wonder what's going on. Maybe I should ask them. Uh-oh, frozen a little bit here. There we go. All right, I'm gonna ask the players what's going on with the delay, because this is a little bit unusual and an unusual amount of time to be waiting. We shall inquire. We shall inquire. Give me a sec. I'll do some inquiring. What something? Little inquiring. Figure out what's going on. I hope they realize that I'm deafened, because I saw a bunch of like the Discord icons light up the second I typed that, but I can't hear them because I'm not. I don't want to leak their private comms. So, hmm. Oh wow, Shoopam is on that team. Wow, that's a killer roster. All right, hold on a sec. Hold on a sec. Hold on a sec. I'm gonna undeafen for a second. All right, they're still discussing. So I'm kind of stuck. It seems like we're just waiting for them to decide something before the next game starts. In the meantime, let's talk about the Ultra Beasts for next season. So personally, I think Necrozma is going to be big. I think you're going to have Darkrai, Necrozma, Celesteela decks all over the place. You know, that's going to be the new Charizard and Cineroar thing. And then on top of that, I think we're going to have some stuff like the Pheromosa. I know some people are excited about that. You know, Pheromosa Cyrus is going to be big. Lots of sniping options. You know, you start Formosa, poke the back line, Cyrus it in, you know. That'll be the killer of Giratina Darkrai. It'll be Formosa. Because now you got the very easy bench damage with Cyrus. Giratina Darkrai hates that so much. Yeah, I think Giratina Darkrai is going to go down to the Formosa deck. I think a lot is going to go down to the Formosa decks. Formosa's big. The only catch is you need a big grass attacker to go with it. Right now, the only thing you've got, really, is like, you've got the Meowscaradas, then the Decidueye, and that's kind of it. You know, there aren't really those big grass attackers. You got Celebi, but that takes forever to power up. You got Venusaur, but that takes forever to power up. There aren't like any burst grass attackers. Maybe like Executor X or the Alone Executor, but they're a little awkward, you know? And they don't do well into healing decks that can out-heal them, potentially. So we'll see. We'll see. If Grass gets a really big attacker, I'm not sure if Kartana really counts, really, but we could see some Cyrus tech with Formosa. That's going to be pretty cool. That'll be pretty cool. Yeah, we're just waiting on the next match. I don't know what's taking so long. It's a highly, highly unusual. But they're strategizing about something. They're strategizing about something. Oh, it started. There we go. Gosh darn it. The second I look away. The phone has changed yet again. So I need to do a little tweak, and give me a second. But the game has finally begun. All right, I've been waiting for this. Let's see what we got. And yeah, it seems like they did decide to go with the Greninja deck. So they did decide not to use their replay. They're going for the Greninja deck. You know, Eric versus Dew. 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 It's so hard to get the Japanese R right. Dew. Dew. ちょっと待ってくださいよ. Dew. I can't nail it. I don't know what it is. It's just I'm doing something wrong, but I can hear it, and I don't have it quite right. Anyway, I'll just say the Americanized version. Ryu, Wince, versus Arik. Alrighty, so Arik is going for the Arikario deck, but they got the worst start. They got the Shaman start. That's super bad luck. They got double Cyrus in hand, also very bad. You don't want Cyrus when the game begins. You want Cyrus later on. This is like one of the worst hands they could have possibly gotten. Shaman is going to take massive damage from the cats. Oh no. Oh no. They got that stage 1 evolution. Is that gonna one-shot Shaman? Oh no. Shaman was one-shot by Dew's cat, and that is just devastating. Greninja? They're bricked again. Arik is bricked again. I'm serious. Arik is suffering all of the bad luck. All of the bad luck because of Nosphere's good luck in the previous games. Arik needs to draw Greninja or they lose. Like, seriously, next turn, it's draw Greninja or you lose. Oh my goodness, this is looking so tough for Arik right now. SBS could make a comeback right here. This could be SBS's comeback. You know, they Wow, what do they have on the bench there? Hold on a little bit. Just let me... That is a Charmander, right? Yeah, that's a Charmander. Well, that's interesting. 2 Litten, 1 Charmander. That's a weird deck. I thought people stopped running that. Is it good? I didn't think it was that good. I didn't think it was that good. I'm surprised. I'm kind of surprised. I need a haircut. This is like leaking out of the hat in extraordinary measure. Okay. It decided not to attack, which is interesting. I don't quite know why. But Arik is still bricked. This is oh. This is just... Oh, they didn't attack because they didn't want to get damaged by the counterattack, but they could have won. But that maybe they predicted Irida. Yeah, okay, I get it. Still though, you're in the same position. I don't know. I felt like they should have attacked. But no, it worked out. They got the Papa Cat, the Giga Cat, the Super Cat, the Goober Cat, the Wrestler Cat, and they just win. I don't know what else to say. GG. I mean, Arik was destroyed by bad luck. There's no other way to say it. Arik was just super bricked, and the victory goes to Solar Beam Syndicate. And that's the thing about luck. You know, it comes and it goes. In a team battle like this, you could get really lucky in the beginning, get all your rare candies, and then get completely bricked at the end. And that is one of the risks of running these rare candy decks. They brick. You know, you will have games where you just don't draw what you need. Well, absolutely fantastic game by the Solar Beam Syndicate. You know, not that there was much you could do to mess up that game, but yeah, they won. What can I say? All right, so it's 4-4. You know, it's completely tied. Both teams have 3 players left, and it's all gonna come down to this. It's all gonna come down to what they do next, because Ryu is locked in, right? Ryu is locked in. They got to keep playing, and they got to keep playing. I believe the same deck. With Solar Beam, but the Italian Psyducks, they can counterpick now, and they have the chance to turn things back in their favor. They have the initiative, right? If you're familiar with that terminology, they have the initiative. They can say, okay, all right, what beats that Litten deck? Not bricking. What won't brick and can beat that Litten deck? And that's what they have to pick. That's what we got to see. All right, it looks like the next player and deck has been chosen. I'm gonna put that on the screen and edit the phone size. Counting for all these phone sizes. Pokemon Pocket, please, spectator mode. I beg of you. All right, it looks like they're gonna run a Shaman Froakie deck with a Ricario. It's the same thing we just saw. It's the same thing we just saw. They have another copy, but this one is being run by Rabelias. And I hope that Rabelias has a little bit better luck than Arik did. Because I do think this is a good deck to fight Ryu with. I do think that this is the correct deck. It's a strong, powerful option. And we're going to see some butt get kicked here. Ooh. Ooh, we have sound. All right, all right. Let's put a little sound on there. Yeah, we got a little game sound on this phone. Let's go. All right, Froakie start, double rare candy, Oak Pokeball. This is looking a lot better already. This is looking so much better than the last game. Come on, Italian Psyducks, you got this. The Solar Beam Syndicate's been playing well. It's actually, honestly, it's hard to say if anyone's been playing well. Most of these games... I think we had one game, that Giratina Darkrai game, right? That came down to skill and cautious decision making. But so far, the rare candies have been swinging. I gotta be honest here, the rare candies have been swinging. Like when we were watching Squad Zero versus, Power of Chaos, there were a lot of really intelligent plays, really complex decisions, 300 IQ moves. This matchup is kind of like, rare candy, I choose you! Alright, we got the Giratina. It's very nice. We've got the, another Froakie. We've got the Greninja. That'll be really good. Unfortunately, they are going first, so they won't get that early evolution. But they'll get it next turn. Yeah, Greninja's awkward because, if you go first and you evolve it on turn 3, you don't have enough energy. You really want to go second with Greninja. Going first and evolving early doesn't help much. It doesn't make things much better. Give you some extra poke, but that's about it. Alright, now we see some energy go down on a Charmander here. Not much else on the bench. There's the same deck as before, so it's the Charmander Litten deck, which means the Charmander's start is probably a little weaker for this deck. Got the bird! That's a good bird. But double electric energy means that Greninja will not be able to attack next turn. It's just not happening. It's not happening. Trying to decide where to put the energy. It's a bit of a tough choice. Yeah, the lack of water energy is unfortunate. It will stop the Greninja sweep. That's one of the risks of these dual energy decks, You run there's a chance you just draw the wrong energy type, and that's unfortunate. Rare Candy goes down. We see the evolution into the Greninja. Poke goes on to Charmander. Giratina powers up. Not bad, not bad. And remember, Froakie can still get energy and do 30 damage to Charmander next turn. So there is, with Greninja, a threat on the Charmander, even if Greninja can't attack. Alright, we see one of the cats has been played onto the bench. It's kind of hard to see. It's kind of cut off by the little thing there. But there is a cat on the bench. Trust me, I can smell it from here. Oh, my allergies. Actually, I wonder, would you be allergic to Litten? Because I feel like it's a fire cat, so maybe the fire, burns off the allergens, right? Is Litten, the perfect hyperallergenic cat? Maybe? Maybe. Yeah, if you're allergic to cats, just get a Litten. Problem solved. Right? There you go. Life hacks right there. Yeah, Solar Beam Syndicate is kind of looking like they're gonna lose. I don't know what else to say. The Italian Psyducks picked a really good deck to counter them. Even if they evolve, a Ricario can wall. They've got Greninja Poke. They've got Giratina coming online to deal massive damage. They're thinking, ooh, rare candy. I spoke too soon. I spoke too soon. We got a Charizard. Heck yeah. But they didn't use Stoke. Yeah. What? They, hello? Why didn't they use Stoke? They ran out of time? They ran out of time? A Solar Beam Syndicate's time management needs a little work. One of the weaknesses, I guess, of discussing things through with your entire team is you can get distracted and suffer a little bit of decision-making paralysis there. I don't know, maybe, is this a bait? Is this a trick of some kind? Is there a reason they didn't use Stoke? I don't... Yeah. Yep. Rather than attacking with Froakie, they're just going to put one more energy on that Giratina and threaten checkmate on the Charizard. I think that's the right call. That's a good call. Very good plays by Italian Psyduck. They're not phased by this Charizard. And their deck is built to counter Charizard. To be fair, Italian Psyducks had a very good pick. They had a very good pick with this deck. They correctly identified that last game was unusual. They just got very unlucky. They picked another player with this deck, Rabelais. I think they've got SBS trapped here. I don't think SBS can escape this deck. But they're going to try. They're certainly going to try. Yeah, they got the stage 2 cat, but even a full Incineroar. Could a full Incineroar save them? Maybe. Oh, Lily. Okay, that'll make the Charizard able to survive the Giratina. And we see Stoke go off here. That could have been an attack, though. That could have been an attack. All right, we're going to see the retreat into a Ricario, and that's definitely the right call here. They've got those massive EX threats on the board. You just want to put in something that cannot be hurt by them. They're thinking. One thing we could see is Greninja Cyrus onto the backline cat. That's a possibility. Just try to hurt it before it can hurt you. Are we going to see it? What are they going for? The Charizard or the backline? They're going for the backline. They poked it. Are they going to Cyrus it too? Nah, it's just a poke. They want to force Charizard to lose its energy in order to make it retreat. I think that's a better move. Yeah, I think that's a better move. Now Charizard will have to ditch its energy in order to retreat into the cat. Otherwise, the Ricario can't be damaged. So Charizard is basically dead weight here. Charizard is just an eventual Giratina waiting to knock you out. Ooh, I don't know about this evolution. I don't know about this evolution. Because the previous form could deal 40 damage, right? But maybe they wouldn't have been able to survive Grenin Poke plus Ricario hit. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably it. They wouldn't have been able to survive, so they had to evolve. So this means that the only way to damage a Ricario is through the use of burn damage. That's it. But with Iridas and eventual Shaman, potentially, I don't think it's going to be enough. I think Italian Psyduck really has this match on lock. Whatever the fire deck can throw at you, there's a counter. I think they picked really well. And there's that damage immunity bubble. You can still burn it, though, and that's where the poke comes from. Alright, it healed from the burn. Ooh. Oh, yeah. We got double ninjas. Not one ninja, but two ninjas. That's a lot of damage. That's a lot of damage. What? What? I'm a little confused. Why are they retreating here? Into Giratina, no less. Oh, are they going to... Oh, that's smart. That's smart. They're going to use their ninjas to take out the Incineroar, and Charizard doesn't have enough energy to attack. That's smart. Yeah, that's well played. That's well played. The Incineroar goes down. The Charizard literally can't retreat or attack. And it's going down to double Ninja plus Giratina next turn. Well played. Well played. I tip my hat to the Italian Psyducks. They found the checkmate. They could have stalled that out and won the game eventually, but they found a very quick and powerful checkmate. Well played. Yeah, the Italian Psyducks, you know, they're just coming in. They're just coming in to end the game. We see Lily go down. A little bit of an interesting choice to play Lily here. You know, executors don't surrender. Executors never surrender. All right, we're going to see the double ninja poke, you know, run your obvious moves first. But I wonder if they're going to bring back in Enrico Rio or if they're going to let Giratina attack here. They're thinking. Yeah, I mean, that's the risk, right? They're just going to attack. They're just going to end it. The Italian Psyducks want this game over and in the win column for their team. It's going to be very, very, very difficult for SBS to do anything to get out of this situation. I mean, that Charizard just takes one Greninja poke. It's done. The game's over. What do you do? Are they going to retreat? No. But that can't... That won't help. That won't help, though. All right, Ryu is making best plays, you know, but I think this is GG. I think this is GG. Well played to the Italian Psyducks. They picked a great counter deck, unfazed by their bad luck in the previous game with a similar deck. They picked the same deck, a good strong deck, won the game very cleanly. Fantastic strategy. You know, it's not even about their play necessarily in the game itself. It's about the meta strategy, building this deck, choosing to bring this deck, choosing to bring multiple copies of this deck, running it again at just the right time. Well played. And I need to update this. Game 9 goes to the Italian Psyducks. Rabelias. Alright, now the Italian Psyducks will have to continue to use this deck. They've got to stick with it, right? Until it's defeated. So now SBS can come in and try to tie it up again. What to use to beat an Enrico Rio deck? Honestly, you have a lot of choices, right? Something like this. You could go for a Masquerada. That could work. You could go for, like, a Turtonator thing. You could try... Tapu's not so good against this because it doesn't use, like, a lot of energy. The Snorlax deck. Do Snorlax is pretty powerful against this. A lot of options. Heck, even Skarmory Solgaleo. I mean, I don't like that deck, but it has some funny interactions against this stuff. You could run Skarmory against this. I'm interested to see what they do. It looks like they're ready. They decided pretty quick. Wait, it's Ryu again? Right. It has to be Ryu. Yeah, it has to be Ryu. They have to run their second deck. What am I saying? They don't get to counterpick. Sorry, a little bit mixed up there. A little bit mixed up there. All right, what's Ryu running? Ryu. I hate saying Ryu. That's not the correct pronunciation, but just I can't do that Japanese RY. Ryu. 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 I'm missing something in my phonetics. Alright, a Ricoreo comes out, so any EX Pokemon is going to get walled. Oh, they're going for the Garchomp Rampardos deck. A very good pick. A very good pick. It looks like that's the Dragon Gibble, so it won't do bonus damage to a Ricoreo. Yeah, they're not sure if they want the second Ricoreo on the bench, because a Ricoreo is iffy against this deck. You can fight the Garchomp, but the Cranidos? Nope. The Rampardos? Nope. Even honestly, the Gibble and the Gabite. Sort of, but it depends who attacks first. Oh, early Fossil. Early Fossil! That's not good. Yeah, Rampardos is devastating against a Ricoreo decks. But luckily, by the power of Rare Candy, we've got that early Greninja. That's going to be so big. That's going to be so big here, because now you can poke the Fossil, maybe scare it away, stop Rampardos from happening. They're considering very carefully. Wah, ha, 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 ha. I would poke the Fossil here. I think that's the right call. Yeah. Pretty much. I feel like we need some background music. I mean, we found a lot of like royalty-free background music stuff before. I should find some more of that stuff. Just play it in the background while this stuff's going on. Little set the vibe, set the tone a little bit. Da 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 da, like Spear Pillar. I don't know. Well, that's not royalty free. No. Can you play Pokemon music during a different Pokemon game? Are you allowed to do that? I don't know. Oh, they had it. The Cranidos comes out. Oh, that's gonna destroy a Ricoreo. Oh no. Oh no, and because they put the energy on the front one instead of the back one. That might have been a slight misplay. Might have been a slight misplay by the Italian Psyducks, because they put the energy on the front of Ricoreo. They left it vulnerable to Cranidos, and now they have no way of destroying this Cranidos. If they had put the energy on the back of Ricoreo, then they could have attacked this turn with Greninja, wiped it out, but now it's not possible. Uh-oh. The only thing they can do now is just try to set up Greninja and sweep before the Garchomp EX comes online. That's not looking so good. Yeah, Rabelize might be in a little bit of trouble here. They made a bet, basically. By putting the energy on that front bird, they made a bet, and that bet was, you don't have it. And that they did have it. They did, in fact, have it. Oof. Oof. Oh. Oh, that's game. That's game. I don't know if there's anything they can draw that would save this. An Oak. They would have to draw a Professor Oak that would give them a Rare Candy and a Greninja. Well, that's half of it, but they don't have it. Yeah, it's not enough. They're thinking about surrendering here. It's not enough. And they keep opening the surrender screen, but I guess they're not going to surrender. Yeah, they're going to go down swinging. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's GG. And maybe the Italian Psyducks are like, all right, SBS, if you don't surrender, we don't surrender either. But the Granados takes it. And that is going to be game 10 to SBS, bringing the score dead even once again. Wow, it's 5-5. This is really close. I've never seen one this close before. Game 10 goes to the local Japanese Dragon. All right. Now both players are on their second deck. Rabelias and Ryu are both on their second deck. It looks like for Rabelias it's a Giratina Darkrai deck, but I don't see Komala in this version. So it's a non-Komala version, unless I missed it real quick. Is Giratina Darkrai a good answer to this? Personally, I think so. I think Giratina Darkrai does pretty well into Garchomp, unless it gets very lucky. Yeah, it's not the best start in the world. You don't really want to be running Giratina on the front lines in this matchup. You kind of want Giratina in the back and Darkrai in the front. That's unfortunate. Little bit of bad luck there. Little bit of bad luck there. All right, double Pokeball. You got your Darkrai. Second Giratina. Are we going to see a Mars come out? I mean, you know, a turn 1 Mars. You lose your Mars, but your opponent is down to 3 cards. It could be very good in this situation because, you know, you got to think what's your opponent have in their hand, right? They got a Fossil. They got a Fossil. They're not playing Mars. They're going to save the Mars. All right. We'll see what Ryu does here. Ryu has as many wins as Nosphere did. Right now, Ryu is about to go on a 4 wins if they take this. You know, Rabelias has got to shut this player down. They're too good. They're too good. They've just been dominating, you know? SBS is in a position to steal the lead. No, they got the Fossil. They got the Fossil. Yeah, Oak into Fossil. Ugh. Oh, that's gotta hurt. That's gotta hurt for the Italian Psyducks. Just 1 second. All right, the Italian Psyducks are in a tough spot right now. They take a little bit of poke damage. A little bit of poke damage, but they've got to get rid of that Fossil. They've got to get rid of that Fossil. They're thinking about the Mars now. I mean, an Oak was just played. All right, it'll shuffle 5 cards away, deleting 2. So hopefully, delaying 2, I should say, instead of deleting. So hopefully that's enough to stop the Rampardos, because an early Rampardos would just be devastating. It would be the end of the game. Yeah, there's really only one thing that a Giratina Darkrai deck can do in this situation. Put energy on Darkrai, power up Giratina. That's the bread and butter of Giratina Darkrai. But what do? I mean, if Rampardos comes out, are we going to see it? Are we going to see the Rampardos? Come on, let's see it. The might of Rampardos. No, it doesn't look like they have it. All right, so if no Rampardos is coming out, then the Italian Psyducks have a few more turns to try to build up their power base. what you really want to do is just take out everything before it evolves. You just want to eliminate everything before it has the chance to evolve and become scary. Yeah, that Gibble can't attack. I mean, if it attacks into Rocky Helmet, it would self-destruct. Alright, Potion goes down on Giratina. The Rocky Helmet deterring damage and keeping Giratina healthy enough so it could survive a hit from a Rampardos if it had to. The players are thinking, trying to figure out if they should put cards on their bench. There isn't really much they can do in this situation. I mean, you can put the energy on Giratina instead of Darkrai and just be ready for that anti-Rampardos poke. Personally, I think it's overkill, but yeah, the idea behind that play is if Giratina is set up, then you can do 150 damage next turn instead of 130. But that only matters if Rampardos comes online and attacks and has a cape. All of those things would have to happen for that play to make sense. Or it has to deter that play. Right? But it's entirely possible that that's the right move. It's entirely possible that that is the correct call. Just if Italian Psyduck player Rabelias is confident that they win this, unless that happens, then prepping for that is the right move. All right, another Gibble goes down onto the bench. That's a lot of evolution fodder, and they switch Gibbles. Just trying to keep a lot of energy on the back Gibble. Go for that eventual Garchomp EX. I don't know. I don't think you sap here. This is tough. This is tough. It all depends on when they evolve, right? It all depends on when they evolve. And this is the risk of putting the energy on Giratina, because now you have fewer options on this turn. Ooh. Ooh. They played it. I didn't think they'd play it, but they played it. Probably figuring no time to waste. Giratina's going in, let's go. And it's risky, though. It's risky because now the thing they were defending against last turn, that caped Rampardos, could threaten to win the game against Darkrai. That's on the table now. I'm just thinking 2 turns ahead. If you're wondering what kind of shenanigans I'm talking about because my words don't match the game, I'm thinking 2 turns ahead. Because that's the level of play we're at here. That's the level of play. Alright, Giratina is going to attack, dealing 20 damage to itself. It is now in range of Rampardos. Rampardos coming in would be devastating here. They're fighting. Both these teams want this win. This win is you're in the lead going in to the last 2 players of the opposing team. They want this win. They really want it. Uh-oh. Do they have it? Do they have it? Do they have it? Do they have it? I want to know. Do they have it? No, they don't have it. The fossil is stalling. That's big. That's big. They don't have it. They don't have it. The fossil is going down. That is massively good. That is massively good for the Italian Psyducks. It means they just don't have that rare candy. It's at the bottom of the deck. It's gone. It's missing. Extra poke from the Darkrai, and Giratina does attack here because you want to clear that thing. You want to get rid of any chance, any universe in which Rampardos could exist. All right, it's now or never. It's now or never. Garchomp EX right now or GG. Energy goes down. And that's game. The Italian Psyducks have, as soon as they attack, won, breaking the tie and keeping their lead. Not at one point during this entire match has SBS gotten ahead of Italian Psyducks. This was the critical moment. This was the moment when they could have pulled ahead. But their rare candy was lost, it was buried, and the Italian Psyducks took it. And that is going to be the end of Ryu, who had a three-game winning. I guess I can't call it a streak because it wasn't perfectly interrupted, but sort of a streak. For SBS. Ryu did very well. Fantastically well. But the Italian Psyducks have brought it up to 6, and now there are only 2 players left for SBS. Only 2 players to choose from to combat this Giratina Darkrai deck. And the worst part is, even when you take this out, you're now pinned, and the Italian Psyducks can have 2 players to choose to bring against you. So both teams are running out of options. They're running out of decks to choose from. They're running out of players. This is neck and neck. It's very close. SBS, the Solar Beam Syndicate, really has to pick something good for this. You know, they need to come back right now. Whoop, wrong button. There's the button. I'm gonna take a look at chat, just see if people have been saying stuff. Reverse a Buzzhole, maybe, using Lucamine to give Buzzhole's retreat energy to Buzz. Oh, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. Yeah, that's another thing. You could retreat, too, can't you, to discard energy. But Lucamine needs something to be knocked out, so... But that's a good point. Yeah, I didn't think of that. Retreating is a good way to discard energy. Alright. Any chats on Twitch? I don't see any. Just check in the... There we go. Alright. Waiting on the next game. Do-do-do. Do-do-do. I need like a BRB thing. See if I could create one of those. So I just need a little time with a bowl of soup, and I don't want to annoy you all with slurping sounds. Let's see. Oh, nope. Nope, that sounded like a game. No time for eating. There's Pokemon to spectate. The fact that they're doing this means that the opposing team should be about ready to fight them. Solar Beam Syndicate. Can they take the win? Who will be victorious? The Solar Beam Syndicate or the Italian Psyducks? Italian Psyducks are pretty cool, I gotta say. I'm not biased at all. But yeah, no, the Solar Beam Syndicate's pretty cool too. I gotta respect, you know, they never retreat, never surrender. Got that gumption. Alright, maybe during this time we'll do some, like, riddles. I am the Riddler Dragon. Oh, no time for riddles. Nope, no time for riddles. The SBS has chosen Jin or Jin, depending on the language. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. To fight against Rabe. All right. Darkrai Giratina start. That's the good start. With Professor Oak. This is the Darkrai Giratina start, where somehow you get all the cards you need in your starting hand. The magic of Darkrai Giratina right there. Another Litten. How many Litten decks do they have? How many Litten decks do they have? Oak into Pokeball, just like a Darkrai Giratina should. Get another Darkrai? Why not? Put it on your bench. Don't mind if you do. Rocky Helmet to deter early damage. Giratina powers up, and that's it. I gotta work on my Italian so that I can narrate the Italian Psyducks in Italian. Penso che the Italian Psyducks are pretty cool. I just need to, translate the rest of that sentence. All right, Litten can't really attack here. I mean, if Litten attacks, it'll just go down to Darkrai Poke next turn. I mean, you gotta think it's 20 damage from the hat, and then 10 damage to itself. Poke would be another 20. I guess it would survive with 10, but not a great situation for the Litten. Yeah, it's a bit of a choice here. If you put energy on the front Darkrai, but they get Incineroar, they could incinerate you, and you've lost all that energy. But if you put energy on the back Darkrai, and you don't draw Leaf, you have no way of pivoting. This is a tough call. This is legitimately a tough call in any game. Yeah, another option, although a little bit of a weirder one, is to put the energy on Giratina and then kind of delay the decision. Alright, looks like they're just going on backline Darkrai. Simple, cautious, fair strategy. You get the poke, the best of all the worlds there. And if they knock out your front Darkrai, then you're good to go. Your backline comes in. Oh, there's the Incineroar. The caution was warranted. And there's a Professor Oak giving even more power to the Solar Beam Syndicate here. I wonder what they're thinking about, because there aren't that many options. I mean, you put energy, you attack, or you don't. The funny thing is, you don't really need to attack here. It doesn't really make any progress, Yeah, they didn't attack. They didn't attack, so you don't need to. Why put more damage on yourself when you don't have to? There's no point. Next turn, you one-shot the Darkrai. That's it. Yeah, so they're deciding to put the energy on Giratina this turn to save the poke damage. For next turn, we see the cape on the Giratina to make it extra tanky, and Giratina now has enough energy. And the whole point behind all of these plays is that if Incineroar incinerates the frontline Darkrai, it'll then get destroyed by Darkrai, Giratina, Rocky Helmet combined for 170 damage. Charmander on the bench. There's a backup plan for Team Incineroar. Will they destroy this Darkrai? Guzma! Oh! Clutch! Clutch Guzma! Clutch Guzma! That Guzma was huge. That Guzma was devastating. It removes the Rocky Helmet. Now there's no way to KO Incineroar. Plus, Plus, it also removes the cape, so Giratina cannot both attack and survive. Devastating. Devastating play. That Guzma was critical. That Guzma was game-winning Guz. That was big. That was big. Now the Italian Psyducks are on the back foot. They're super on the back foot. I don't know if they could win this. I don't know if there's any way for them to recover this. Because you can't peel Incineroar. You can't get rid of it. There's nothing you can do. You can't stall it. You can't kick it out. Yeah, we see Oak go down, but it's not looking good. It's not looking good. A little bit of poke there. And Giratina just grabs energy. I mean, you attack here, you lose. You can't attack. The recoil is just too much. All right. What's going to happen now? Rare Candy, another evolution for the Solar Beam Syndicate. Jin is on fire right now. Well, they're running fire-type Pokemon, but they're also on fire. I don't know what you do here. And they get a Pokeball too. They've just got everything. How do you win this as the Italian Psyducks? If you're Rabe right now, you're staring down your last deck is about to get burned by Incineroar. And Lily. And Lily. The Lily, ironically, reduces the damage from the Giratina, but it doesn't matter. There's nothing you can do. Sabrina? Sabrina to save the game? Sabrina to save the game. Sabrina goes down. The Charizard can't retreat because it doesn't have enough energy. They're using the Solar Beam Syndicate's evolution against them. Very clever. Very clever. I might have wanted to see Darkrai poke Incineroar before the Sabrina switch. That might have been a little better because you will need to take out, I believe, the... Let me just check the prize points. Oopsie. I think they do need to take out the Incineroar eventually. Yeah, because they don't have any prize points, so... I would have liked to have seen the Darkrai poke go down on the Giratina before the Sabrina, but still really good. Still really good. No! Maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe they're just smart and I'm still playing checkers. Yeah, because they didn't poke it, Incineroar can't use its Gooper damage powers. No, they were right. The Italian Psyducks were right, I think, because now Incineroar can't one-shot Darkrai. Yeah, no, they did it correctly. They did it correctly. You see, I'm being dumb. I'm being dumb. These players know what they're doing. Thinking ahead. Thinking even more steps ahead, because now Incineroar can't use its 140 damage. It can only deal 80, so Darkrai can survive. Oh. These are the plays. These are the plays. Alright, what are we going to see now? Does Incineroar just attack here? Both players have drawn most of their decks. I mean, we're in the late game. We're in the end game. We're in the end game now. I can't quite pull that off. I'll work on that. I don't think Doctor Strange has that deep of a voice anyway, so. You just gotta say it like really dramatically. We're in the end game now. Getting there. Getting there. But yeah, no, this is tough because that thing does 140 damage. How do you survive? Right? How do you survive? I mean, what they got to be thinking is Darkrai Poke, retreat. Darkrai Poke, retreat. Darkrai Poke, hit with Giratina. That's the only way you do enough damage, but they probably have another Lily. If they have another Lily, you'll never do enough damage. They're going for it. They're going for it. This is the only win con. Yeah, Darkrai Poke, retreat. That's what you got to do. It gets energy, but they'll probably never end up using it. Cape. Yeah. They have Guzma, though. They have Guzma. But you can't play Guzma and Leaf in the same turn. Still, it's possible. Oh, this is going to come down to, like, a single 20 damage poke. This whole thing is going to come down to a single 20 damage poke. Yeah, just play Pokeball for the peel. Nothing to draw. Okay, poke. Oh no, they can't retreat, can they? They can't retreat. Their Giratina doesn't have enough health. Their Giratina does not have enough health. Oh no. Yeah, they needed a Nurse Joy. And even then, they wouldn't have been able to... Yeah, there's just not enough action economy for this. There's not enough action economy for this. Is Jin about to take Rabe out? Is Jin about to take Rabe out? Is there any card that can turn this around? It's not winning though. That's not winning though. They're just doing it. It looks like Rabe's just doing as much damage as they can. This is gonna be game. Yeah, that's the win. That's the win for the Solar Beam Syndicate. Tying it up again, 6-6. This is incredibly close. Incredibly even. Game 12 goes to Jin. Or Jean. Great game. Yeah, there was just nothing they could do. The Incineroar was just too tanky. Just had too much health. And now, the Italian Psyducks need to pick a new player. Both teams only have 2 players left. It's 2-on-2. 4 decks remaining. Tied score. But the initiative does belong to the Italian Psyducks. Alright, while they're picking their next player, we're going to take a short soup break. Here we go. What? What? Why is that counting down? I had typed something about a soup break, and then it started counting down. I think I have a script on this file. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hold on. Alright, yeah, I think I had a script on that file. Let me... Let me pick something else. Here we go. Soup break. That is now forever. BRB soup break. 3 minutes. There we go. Can I give that like a background somehow? Background color. Okay. Opacity. There we go. Perfect. All right. The Italian Psyducks have chosen their player, and they have chosen the Italian Psyduck, the gym leader of their team. Can the Italian Psyducks finally come back now that they've chosen their ace? This looks like another Giratina Darkrai deck. I mean, it's got Giratina, but... Oh no, I see a rare candy. And Psychic Energy. I wonder what this is. Is this a Gengar deck? Oh, do we get to see a Gengar deck? That's awesome. I want to see a Gengar deck. Let's go! Alright, the Charmander goes down, the Litten goes down. Gengar deck. Come on, Gengar deck. Pokeball. Ooh. Ooh. But Jin's got some cards. Jin's got good draws there. The Italian Psyduck. How are they going to respond to this? I mean, it's just a veritable sea of basic Pokemon. But it is a Psychic Energy deck, so Giratina will be able to ramp more quickly. 3 turns instead of 4. A second Giratina, wow! What is this, Giratina 18? No, it can't be, because there's a Pokecom. They're gonna play the Pokecom. Yeah, I don't want a second Giratina, none of that, no. Froakie, okay. It's a Froakie, that's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting. Is this a Tapu Lele deck? I bet this is a Tapu Lele deck. Yeah, it's probably the Tapu Lele Greninja Giratina deck. Alright, Giratina's got 2 energy, but there's not much it can do right now. Really, at this point, the Italian Psyduck just has to hope that they get Giratina online before Charizard, before Incineroar, before any of these big pokes come onto the field. Can you power up before they brick, or stop bricking? It's a bit of a draw race. It's a bit of a draw race. Energy on Charmander. Probably going to see an attack here. Might as well. I mean, why not, right? Does the attack go off? Evolution. Wow, they've got that stage 2 Torracat. I mean, it's looking pretty good for Jin right now. Okay, so it is the 4 basic. It is the 4 basic deck. That's an interesting one. Yeah, that's an interesting one, the 4 basics deck. Alright, 20 damage onto Giratina, just a little bit of poke. Why not? That Froakie draw is unfortunate. You really wanted a Greninja there. Yeah, you really wanted a Greninja. Deciding whether or not to cape. They're gonna save it. You're gonna save it. Probably the right call. I mean, you got 3 cards in your hand. You know, not much of a chance of red card. Save the cape for when you need it. You never know when you might need a hero. Okay, so it's looking like they don't have the evolution quite yet, or they're deciding what to evolve. I mean, this is it, right? Giratina's got 4 energy. Jin of the Solar Beam Syndicate has to do something. They've got to do something, or the Italian Psyducks are just going to clean up with Giratina. What you really need is that stage 2. You need that EX Pokemon to come in, fight Giratina, kick its butt. And there it is. There it is. Incineroar comes online. They're going to retreat into the Incineroar, but it doesn't have any energy. That's the only downside to this strategy I'm seeing. The Incineroar is lacking in energy. It doesn't have the ability to really defeat Giratina right now. So this could actually just be putting the Incineroar at risk. Heads will remove the burn. That matters. That matters, because this Giratina, it's struggling. It's at half health. There's the Tapu Lele. A little bit Tapu late, but it doesn't matter so much with this matchup. Energy goes down on the Tapu. And Giratina kind of has to attack here. I mean, you've got to remove this threat. You've got to remove Incineroar before it can take you out. We see the cape is played on Giratina. Damage comes in. That's big. That's big damage. Look at that. Boom. Damaging the Giratina. The Incineroar. And putting it into threat range. Even a Lily will not save it. Even a Lily plus cape won't save it. That Incineroar is going down. The best thing you can do is put damage onto Giratina and try to stop it from sweeping. That's kind of your only option here. The Solar Beam Syndicate Jin is thinking about what move to make under the circumstances. They put in energy not on the Charmeleon, but on another Litten. That's not what I would have expected. I would have expected to see the energy on the Charmeleon in this case, but they put it on the Litten. Oh, and we're about to see why. Rare Candy into a second Incineroar. It's not looking so good for the Italian Psyduck. Not just the team name, the player as well. This is the Italian Psyduck we're watching. The Italian Psyduck. Out of the many Italian Psyducks, this is the one. We're probably going to see an attack here, but the Solar Beam Syndicate is running out of time. They really like to stretch their timers. Burn does 20 damage. Does it tick? This is actually really important. It does not. Giratina gets to live. It can attack again and survive. Problem is, without Greninjas, yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. Jin pulled 2 rare candies, but the Italian Psyduck hasn't found a single Greninja all game. And as a result of that missing poke, Giratina is just out of luck. It doesn't have enough energy to do what it needs to do. And because Professor Oak was played late, there's no way to play Nurse Joy at the same time. So Giratina is going to attack here, but it's also going to go down. The Italian Psyduck is just trying to find some win condition, some way to maybe hopefully sneak a win in this difficult spot. But it's not looking too good. This Incineroar will have tons of power, tons of damage. It's going to finish off Giratina. Oh, the Goose kill. They go for the Goose kill. Devastating. Devastating. With Guzma removing the cape, Giratina just couldn't hold on any longer. It couldn't keep pretending to be the hero that it always knew it never was. Its doubts caught up with it, and it was defeated. Incineroar burns the Tapu Lele, who was able to recover from the burn with its superior self-esteem. What am I narrating right now? But yeah, Tapu Lele just doesn't have a target. There's really nothing for it to attack. We see the retreat into Giratina. And Nurse Joy is played on Tapu Lele. Why not, I guess. Giratina tries to power up, but for real, why didn't they save the Nurse Joy? Why wouldn't you have saved that to play on the Giratina? Because they're going to take 80 damage and then you need to heal it, right? Why wouldn't you save that? Right? I feel like they should have saved the Nurse Joy. I feel like they should have saved it, but I don't know. Because Incineroar can only do 80 right now. And Nurse Joy would have let you survive 2 hits, I think. Yeah, they're looking at that Nurse Joy being like, oh, maybe should have saved that Nurse Joy. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Had they saved the Nurse Joy, the Giratina might still be alive right now. Mars will reduce them down to 1 card from 2. And Giratina powers up, but because there's no Nurse Joy, it doesn't get to live another turn. That's unfortunate. They could have won, or tied it at least. Yeah, with Nurse Joy, they would have been at 20. Then they drug Greninja, poke the back line, Cyrus it, take it out, and it would have been a tie. But we don't know that would have happened. We don't know that would have happened. In any case, great game by the Solar Beam Syndicate. The Italian Psyduck was just not able to hold. Where is the text? Here we go. And that's going to be another win for Jin. The Solar Beam Syndicate has surpassed the Italian Psyducks in terms of points. And to make matters worse, the Italian Psyducks have to use their next deck. They don't have a choice. They could go for replay, right? They could use a replay token. But it's either that or they have to use their next deck here. It's not looking good for the Italian Psyducks. They needed that game. They needed that game. But the Solar Beam Syndicate just came in and started sweeping. I'm noticing both of these teams are running very inconsistent decks. They're running a lot of rare candy decks, but as a result, they don't quite have the same consistency as some of the other decks, so we're seeing a lot more bricking. Oh, wait, let me hide the... Whoa. Don't want to reveal their secret chats and whatnot. Oh, I have a responsibility as a streamer to keep the secret chats secret. Oh, wow, 1 million people are watching on Twitch. Hello, everybody. There is a 10-minute delay. Ragin' Red Raid. Thank you, Ellie Dark. Much appreciated. Hey, Sneaky. Hey, Disobeyed. How are you doing? Mikiodas, how are you? Ellie, how are you? Twangy, Raging Redragon. Hey. Lol, he's casting my old team. So has Mad Delay. Indeed. Soul Gravy. Yo, let's go, Raging Red Dragon. Thank you very much for the raid. Much appreciated. Alright, we're just waiting on the next game right now. So, it's 7-6. As the Solar Beam Syndicate was behind all game, but they managed just in the last game to take a 1-point lead over the Italian Psyducks, with Jin defeating the Italian Psyduck, the player named Italian Psyduck, in a very close match. There might have been a slight misplay with the Nurse Joy, we're not completely sure. And the Solar Beam Syndicate is doing very well right now. The next game has just started. I'm going to put it on the screen. And here we go. We're spectating from the perspective of the Italian Psyduck. Pokeball was just played. Oh, this is looking pretty good. This is looking pretty good for the Italian Psyduck. They didn't get the rare candy, though. It would have been nice if they had gotten the rare candy, but... Still, they got their Giratina. They got a Tapu. They have a Gren. Got a Cape. They pulled another Tapu. Probably not what they were looking for. Now, they attack or power up here. It's a bit of a choice. Yeah, personally, I'd kind of like to power up, just because I feel like you're not going to eat through 3 basics with 1 Froakie. That would be funny. I'd love to see that game, just as a spectator, where a Froakie takes down an entire team by itself. But yeah, they do the smart thing. They power up the Giratina. Alright, so far, Solar Beam Syndicate has been able to hit the evolutions, especially with this deck. The deck they've been running, this weird kind of 4 basics deck, has a lot of mid-level stage 1 evolutions to sort of make the evolutions more consistent. Especially because we've seen a lot of bricks today. We've seen a lot of bricks with like rare candies at the bottom of the deck. So this deck is a little weird. I think it loses to a lot of stuff because it's slower, but it's more consistent, which makes it really good against what Italian Psyduck has been running. It's like a more consistent fire deck. Yeah, they got to figure out if they want to attack here. or if they want to power up the back line instead. I mean, I think you attack. I think it's a pretty no-brainer, you know. You do 20, and then you could bring in the big cat for 40 later if you want. Yeah, there's the attack. They'll do 20 damage to the Froakie. Pokeball's not what you want to be drawing here. No, and they got the Giratina back. Oh, that's such bad luck. They just calmed that away. They wanted a Froakie. They just wanted a little Froakie. Ugh. And because Froakie didn't attack last turn, the Charmander is not in range of being KO'd. So even though powering up Giratina might have been the mature decision, you know, the safe decision, it does mean that there are less options this turn. We're probably going to see another Giratina power up. Just stick with it, get Giratina online, start sweeping as quick as you can before those evolutions come in. Or Froakie attacks. If Froakie attacks now, you're kind of committing to Froakie, but I don't think you want to commit to Froakie while you have a Greninja in your hand, right? Because then you lose the option to evolve it later, because it'll go down. So I bet they power up Giratina. That's my bet. We'll see if I'm right. We'll see if I'm right. Yeah. Called it. That's the move. That's the move. You got to commit to one. You either attack with Froakie or you hyper speed Giratina. Oof. Not even a rare candy. They just naturally evolved the Incineroar. I think that was an on-curve natural evolution. And they got the Oak. And this is their second Oak. Solar Beam Syndicate is having a lot of good luck. They had a little bit of bad luck at the beginning, but that luck is coming back to them in spades. I mean, they've just had some fantastic draws these past few games. Charmander does more damage to the Froakie. And now it's tough. Now it's tough. We see a cape put on the Froakie, but I don't know. What does that do? I'm not sure what that does. I feel like you survive another Charmander hit, but are you really going to stay in with Froakie? They're discussing, they're talking about it. I can't hear what they're saying, by the way. I can't hear them. I'm deafened in the chat, so I don't leak anything. You know, because this is very serious, very competitive. They're going to attack with Froakie? What? I didn't expect that. I feel like it's a little bit late to be doing that. If you're going to go for Froakie attacks, you should have done that for like the beginning. Then you could have just slow built Giratina. Yeah, no, they're retreating. I'm surprised the cape was not put on the Giratina. I thought the cape would be on the Giratina. But maybe there was a reason. Maybe they were worried about like Cyrus plus Charmander, or maybe the cape was a mistake. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what they were thinking with the cape. But Giratina takes out the first prize point. And now it's got to survive the wrath of Incineroar. This is a tough spot to be in. A very tough spot to be in for the Italian Psyduck. They really don't want to lose this. If they lose this, they will have to go to their last player. And that means they're out of options as far as decks are concerned. You do not want to be in that position. And let the Solar Beam Syndicate just use all their decks against you. Though, to be fair, you know, at this point, you kind of just, you know, your deck is going to have to beat all the other decks. Guzma goes down and removes the cape anyway, so it didn't matter. Those Guzmas have been devastating from Solar Beam Syndicate. We've seen them get kills with Guzma. Guzma has been lethal. Absolutely lethal. Alright, we're probably just going to see an attack here. There it is. That's going to be 30 damage plus 20 from the burn. Giratina taking massive damage from this. And it stays burned. Oh, that's going to be even more damage on Giratina. But finally the rare candy comes out. It's a little bit late. It's incredibly late, actually, considering that Solar Beam Syndicate has been getting pretty good draws. I think that's relatively late for the Greninja. But it's better late than never. The poke is coming online. And now we can finally see some real damage get dropped on that Incineroar. I wonder what they're deliberating about. Like, I feel like this situation is, ooh, Okay, yeah, no, I wouldn't have expected that. I would have put the energy on the Tapu here, but I guess they're trying to build a second Jira just to see if they can get away with it. Yeah, that's smart. That's smart. Yeah. I mean, you attack here, right? Do you? Yeah, you gotta. What else can you do? Yeah, I feel like you just got to attack here. Boom, 130 damage. Incineroar is dropped down to 30, but Giratina stays burned. Okay, it's no longer burned, but it'll go down to burn next turn. Like if Incineroar attacks again, this Giratina's done. Any attack. It doesn't even have to use its ultimate attack. It can just do a normal attack. And Giratina is char roast broiled. Actually, that's a funny thing. We might see them not attach energy to reduce Tapu Lele's potential damage. Yeah, they're doing it. They're actually doing it. They put the energy on the back so the Tapu Lele couldn't do as much damage. Yep. That's the move. Alright, Giratina gets a little bit charbroiled. And it is cooked. And now they bring in, I think, the second Giratina that they were powering up. Which is very smart. I would have put the energy on Tapu, but putting it on the second Giratina was smart. What? Wait. What? Why? Huh? Hold on. I'm really confused. Why was Tapu Lele put in? Wasn't the whole point of that strategy to use Giratina? Am I missing something? I feel like I'm missing something. Oh! I get it! I get it! 300 IQ play! 300 IQ play. I get it. I get it. I see what they did. I see what they did. By bringing in the Charmander, it's impossible to both retreat Charmander and add energy to the Incineroar, bringing it up to 3 energy, which means that it can't KO Tapu Lele. Tapu Lele gets to live, it deals massive damage to the Incineroar, and is threatening to take it out next turn with Greninja Poke. Brilliant. Brilliant play by the Italian Psyduck. I was getting distracted by the Giratina. But they're like 3 turns ahead of me. The Italian Psyduck, 3 turns ahead of me. Brilliant play. They powered up the Giratina as an option, but they calculated that using the Tapu Lele option was better this turn. And they had both options because they put the energy on Giratina the previous turn. They were preparing for every quantum universe. Well played from the Italian Psyducks. That is some skill. That is some skill right there. Oh, that's so cool. Okay. Alright, what are we gonna see? They put the energy on Charmander. Yeah, the Solar Beam Syndicate is going down to timer. They've messed up the timer a couple times. We've seen them mess up timer a couple times. Basic damage onto Tapu Lele. Just basic damage onto Tapu Lele. Alright, Mars is played here. Mars is played. Hold on, let me drag the screen down a little bit because I can't quite see Incineroar's health bar. Drops to 30. That's enough! That's enough! I didn't think they could do it! I didn't think they could do it, but they did. The Italian Psyduck pulls off a come-from-behind crazy play victory, taking the game from Jin and tying it back up 7-7. Amazing. Amazing. We are tied again. We are tied again. Game 14 goes to the Italian Psyduck. Well played. Oh, that was a good game. That was a good game. The 300 IQ Cyrus stall. Brilliant. Brilliant. Sableye approves. Great game. Fantastic. Oh, that was so good. That was so good. The plays. The plays. As the first game taken off of Jin. So what we're going to see is Jin either uses their second deck now, or alternatively, they use one of their replay tokens to rerun the same deck. It depends on whether or not they think that that deck was a good matchup against the Italian Psyduck's final deck. And you really want to win this. You really want to win this because this is the last match before the final player. Oh, let me just hide that while they're doing text message stuff. This is the last match before the final player. This is it. This is it. You know, whoever gets wiped out here, the team has to send their last person. And you don't want to be the first one to do that. You don't want to be the first one to send your last person. You want to be the second one to do that, right? It's just like Pokemon Pocket. You want to go second, get the energy, get the initiative, right? So they both really want to win this game. This could change everything. This could impact everything. This could define how it all ends in this epic showdown between Italian Psyducks and Solar Beam spamming Executors. We've had some good matches so far. A lot of the matches, I have to say, the Squad Zero versus Power of Chaos was more technical. There were a lot more technical plays. There were a lot more high skill plays. We definitely saw incredible skill during that last game. That last game was incredible. But, oh, next game. All right, I'm going to stop blabbing. No, I'm going to keep blabbing. I like blabbing. I definitely think that we're seeing fewer technical decisions in these more Charizard-heavy decks. I think the Charizard decks are just a little bit easier to pilot, but also more vulnerable to bricking. But, you know, there are advantages to them, right? If you draw the rare candies, you just win. You just win. So it's a very simple deck. It's hard to mess up. But I like the decks that give you more choices. Alright, it seems like Jin is running their final deck, right? This is the Gabite deck, the Gibble deck. Gibble Rampardos. Will Gibble Rampardos be able to take down the Giratina Froakie Tapu Lele? And it's a good deck to do against because, you know, Rampardos does not care at all about Tapu Lele. Rampardos gives zero concerns about Tapu Lele. Tapu Lele can threaten the Garchomp, but usually it's you know, by the point in time where Garchomp has enough energy to care that Tapu Lele exists, it's too late. You know, it's too late in the game for the Tapu player. So I think this is a good choice. I think that the Gibble Rampardos deck is a good choice against this. Definitely. Yep, just powering up the Giratina. That's the right move. That's the right move. The weakness of the Gibble deck is that it can brick very hard. It's very vulnerable to bricking. You know, the fossils can't be summoned with Pokeball. You might not get your rare candy. You know, there's a lot of room for this deck to fail. And so you definitely want to just start attacking it as quickly as possible. Just shut it down before it can evolve. We see the evolution into Gabite, though. That'll remove a rare candy dependency, and we could even see Garchomp EX as early as next turn. Here, there are a lot of cards in that hand. I'm seeing a lot of cards in the hand of Jin right now. Italian Psyduck really wants to fish for that Mars. Let's move the game up a little bit so we can see their hand again. Ooh, I see a Greninja. I see a nice tasty Greninja. Yeah, no hesitation. No hesitation. Rare Candy is played. Greninja comes online. And now you've got some choices, right? Now you've got some choices. What are we targeting? What are we attacking? Do we risk keeping Greninja in the active slot? Do we switch to Giratina? Do we switch to Tapu? This is the point where you have to make some decisions. And there are pros and cons to everything, right? If you don't retreat Greninja, it could go down. Though, actually, could it? Nah, it can't. What am I saying? It can't. How would it go down? It can't go down. Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. What am I saying? Yeah, no, there's no threat. There's no threat. Garchomp would need 3 energy to take it out. Yeah. It's totally fine. Totally fine. Ooh, there's a fossil. That's not good. That's not good. The Fossil is your biggest nightmare because it means Rampardos is coming. And if they played Fossil into Greninja, either it's a bluff or they just have Rick Andy Rampardos. You really want to draw Mars right now. Like, if you're the Italian Psyduck, you are hoping and praying that your next card is Mars. It's not Mars. You poke the Fossil? You kind of have to, but if that's Rampardos, it's... Oh, they're Cyrusing a 20 health Fossil. Let's go. That's the right move. That's the right move. You cannot risk that Rampardos coming online. Well played. Well played. Cyrusing a 20 health Fossil. Giratina did as much damage to itself as that Fossil. It's like, you know, a giant Giratina just walked into the museum like, rah, Giratina. Can I help you, sir? Slams its head on the desk, breaks the glass, destroys a Fossil, and it's got like a little bandage on its head now. And it's like, why did you do that? And Giratina is like, it had to be done. You don't understand the threat that that Fossil posed. You're welcome. And then it walks out of the museum. That's pretty much what just happened. And it was absolutely the right play. Yeah, Jin is stunned. Jin did not expect that. Did not expect that play. They've got the Garchomp online, but it doesn't have enough health to survive Greninja plus Giratina. Now it does. Alright, and it's going to do damage to Giratina. That's the correct target. And we see Nurse Joy get dropped here. That'll bring Giratina to 110, meaning it will be able to survive. It will be able to survive a hit from Garchomp's ultimate attack. Now, there are a couple of things you could do in this position as the Italian Psyduck. You probably want to poke with Greninja no matter what. But you could attack, you could not attack. For example, if you don't attack here... Ooh. Calming the Greninja for Froakie, I guess? Yeah, for Froakie. That way they have the option to draw the Greninja back and then evolve it next turn. Good move. Good move. You could retreat Giratina into Tapu Lele. You could save Tapu Lele and hope to try to counter kill with Tapu Lele. You could just not attack at all and then Giratina can't go down this turn. You have a lot of options. This is my favorite one, though. Yeah, no, this is what I was thinking. Because, you know, you've got the Greninja threatening to take it out. You've got Tapu Lele threatening to take it out. If you retreat and get rid of your energy, then you're not dealing with Giratina. They got the second Lily, though. The second Lily is huge. They add the energy, but it's not enough. It's not enough. If you've done the math in your head like I have, you know that the Italian Psyduck has this, even if they don't draw a second Greninja. Which they didn't. But that doesn't matter. They put the cape onto Tapu Lele so that it could survive a hit if it needed to, but it really doesn't. The poke goes down onto the Garchomp EX, and Tapu Lele attacks, finishing it off and taking the game for the Italian Psyducks. Let's go. And the Italian Psyducks will regain the lead. 8-7. Well played by the Italian Psyduck, who managed to sweep Jin, an incredible player from the Solar Beam Syndicate, giving the Italian Psyducks, once again, a dominating position going into the final player from the Solar Beam Syndicate. Remember, the Solar Beam Syndicate only has one person left with 2 decks. If those decks are sent to the Shadow Realm, it's over. It's all over. The game ends, and it will all be won by the Italian Psyducks. So there's no choice from the Solar Beam Syndicate. They have to put their final player forward. They only have one person left. They need to finish off the Italian Psyduck and then defeat the Italian Psyduck's team's final player. This isn't even their final form. This isn't even their final player. It all comes down to this. It all comes down to this. I'm very excited. Because it is possible that the Solar Beam Syndicate takes out the Italian Psyduck, takes out their final player, and just wins. It's possible that they have a comeback. The score is too close. It's just way too close. You know, both teams have been playing a lot of Charizard decks, but those decks have fallen. Right? All the Charizard decks have been defeated. I would be amazed if they have any left. We've seen so many go down. So I'm really curious what decks they have left. You know, because what we're seeing is the decks that they didn't decide to use yet. We might get a few surprises. We might get a few cool things. I'm excited to see what we get here. Alright, I'm just going to take the opportunity to check on chat real quick. Hey, Random Ways, how are you? Hope you're doing good. I hope you're doing alright. It's weird talking to people in the past/future. I can't decide if I'm in the future or the past, because I am in the future, as I'm saying this, from your perspective. But when you see it, I will be in the past. Which is very confusing. It's like there is no time superiority. We are both ahead of and behind each other at the same time. We're in a circle. The wheel of time turns, and it's the beginning of a story, but not the story. I don't know. That was an awful book series. All right. I don't know what happened to the phone. It's suddenly become giant. I don't know why the phone has become giant. There we go. It's back to normal size. But they're searching for the next game, and we should have the next game up pretty soon. Alright, the next player has been decided. From the looks of it. Here we go. Oof. This is so close. This is so incredibly close. Any team could take it. Any team could take it. I don't know who's going to win. Wow, Jay, let's go. I don't know who's going to win. WoW versus the Italian Psyduck. The person whose name is their team name. That's how you know they're good. That's how you know they're good. Alright, this is not a bad start. You got the Tapu Lele. They've got the Froakie. It seems like they want to go Tapu Lele first this time. Put Froakie in the back. I like this hand. I like this opening hand from the Italian Psyduck. They've got the Oak. They've got the Mars. You know, they've got the I draw more cards, you draw less cards options. Ooh. Yeah, I see why they started with Tapu Lele and into Giratina. That's brutal. You do not want to be the Giratina player into a starting Tapu Lele. But this is the problem, right? This is the problem. Both teams have exhausted all of their Charizards. They've exhausted most of their options. This is it. This is it. You know, you have to play with the decks you have left. And they aren't necessarily going to be good anymore. They're not necessarily going to be counters anymore, is what I should say. They're going to be good. You pick them. But they're not going to counter your opponent, necessarily. Unfortunately, the Solar Beam Syndicate is sort of self-countered here. Alright, they put on a Rocky Helmet to sort of deter the Tapu Lele poke. I'm not sure if it will succeed, but we'll see. Alright, Professor Oak comes down. The draws aren't great. You never really want to draw Oak with an Oak because you can't play it anyway till next turn, so it's sort of a dead card until then. Tapu Lele pokes Giratina 20 damage. You know, you do want to get that poke early, even if you take Rocky Helmet damage, because it'll help you defeat the Giratina over time. It's very important to get that early damage on it. Because it escalates, you know, it accelerates. It's exponential. The more energy they get, the more you do. But you still need to start early because mathematically it has to add up. Yeah, Rare Candy, Pokecom. You know, we could see an early Greninja, potentially, depending on what that Oak gets. The Italian Psyduck's got a good hand. Very good hand. Mars option if they get another Oak. Mars option even if they don't get another Oak. They don't play anything else. Boom, Mars them. Or don't Mars them. Let them stay with a bad hand, you know? That's one of the things when your opponent has an awful hand. Sometimes you just don't play Mars because, I'm not going to give you a new hand. No, you got to play with this. That's another thing that, you know, is a little funny about Mars. All right, they dump a potion. Kind of delete that early damage. And power up again. Wait, why aren't they putting energy down? Oh, that's funny! They don't want to risk putting energy on the Giratina. Because it'll make Tapu Lele do more damage. So they're not using normal energy. That's hilarious. Yeah, the Solar Beam Syndicate is deliberately avoiding using normal energy. That is so funny. Alright, Pokecom goes down on Froakie, but it misses. Yeah, it misses. They got a second Giratina. That's not what they wanted. They wanted Greninja. Unfortunate, but not the end of the world. They just passive power up the Giratina and poke the opposing Giratina. Big damage. That's going to be 40 damage. And that Giratina's looking, you know, it's looking pretty hurt at this point. They've already used a potion. They've already given it a Poketool. Red card. Yeah, I mean, they had 5 cards in their hand, so that's fair. Oh, these draws. Oh, no, that devastating draws. You don't want these cards. You don't want these cards. These cards aren't helpful. That was a good red card. That was a good red card. It really sabotaged the Italian Psyduck's hand. They got the Greninja, but now they can't play it. Gosh darn it. In this situation, honestly, you just power up Greninja. You don't even worry about Tapu Lele, because you win the game next turn if they attack you. Yep. Actually, you win the game next turn if they don't attack you. This is looking really good for the Italian Psyduck. One second, let me just type something real quick. Yeah, the Italian Psyduck's got them pinned. You know, if Solar Beam Syndicate doesn't recover somehow, if WoW from the Italian... if WoW from the Solar Beam Syndicate doesn't recover from somehow, they lose next turn. Giratina just comes in and takes out their Giratina and wins the game. No! They don't have it! They don't have it! The Solar Beam Syndicate just didn't have it. Oh, this is hilarious. This is hilarious. Italian Psyducks can end the game without Giratina. They can end the game without Giratina. They're flexing. They're celebrating a little. They're celebrating too early, though. It's not over yet. It's not over yet. Okay, yeah, they're not gonna flex that hard. Actually, no, I did the math right. You would only do 80 damage, so you would still need Giratina. You'd still need Giratina. The Italians, gosh darn, just end the game. Stop flexing. The Italian Psyducks have won, but there is still one more deck. WoW still has one more deck, and as we've seen before from multiple players, you can see it on the left side of the screen, multiple players have won 3 games. Multiple players have won 3 games. It's entirely possible that the Solar Beam Syndicate can come back and defeat the Italian Psyducks. But for right now, the Italian Psyducks have 9 out of the 10 they need to win. And that is another victory for the heroic gym leader of the Italian Psyducks, the Italian Psyduck. They've just taken game 16, and they only need 1 more. They just need 1 more. Just 1 more. If they defeat the very last deck of the Solar Beam Syndicate, it's over. Now, the Solar Beam Syndicate could use a replay token. I don't believe they've used all their replay tokens. They could use a replay token to potentially replay the same deck, but no way in heck that's going to happen. You don't run a Giratina Darkrai deck against Tapu Lele. You just don't do that. There's no reason for that. So I am going to bet that that is not what happened. I bet we're going to see a new deck, and I'm curious to see what it is. Final deck, Italian Psyduck versus Solar Beam Syndicate's WoW. Let's see who wins. We will repeat. They're using it? They're using it? Wait, hold on. How do I hide this? Stop showing your Discord on the stream. Gosh darn it. It looks like they're using the replay token, so they are going to run the same deck. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that at all. But they're going to use the same deck. Huh. Well, all right. We'll see what this is. Let me just check the Twitch chat for a quick second. All right, see if anybody's saying anything on YouTube. I've already said hello to Randomways. All right. We're just ready and waiting for the what could be the final game. It's up. It's up. Let's check it out. All right. I'm amazed they're using a replay. I didn't think they would use a replay. But there's no Tapu Lele this time. Maybe it was a 300 IQ move by the Solar Beam Syndicate, because there's no Tapu Lele. They got a Giratina. Can they get a Tapu Lele? There it is! There it is. They really wanted that Tapu Lele, and I don't blame them. Tapu Lele is an amazing, amazing card to pressure Giratinas. They're tempted to play the Cape this turn. I agree with it. I agree with it. You want to reduce your hand size to 3 so you don't get red carded when you have a good hand. And Rare Candy Greninja? That's a good hand. That's a really good hand. Yeah, no, this is looking so good for the Italian Psyduck. This is looking so clean. They got everything they need. They got the Greninja, they got the Giratina, they got the Tapu Lele. The Tapu Lele is not in the active slot, but still, very good. And you're up against that beached Giratina again. There's the Darkrai. I've never seen Giratina Darkrai brick this hard. I've never seen it before. Except when I'm playing it. I have to admit, when I'm playing it, I have very bad luck. But when normal, not me, people play Giratina Darkrai, I don't see it brick this hard. But yeah, they've got the beach Giratina, right? The Giratina in the active slot. That's not what you want to happen. Oh my goodness. Solar Beam Syndicate is in a tough spot. The Italian Psyducks could take it. They're putting immense pressure right now. And SBS, you know, they've got to decide, do they even put energy on Giratina? You have to, but it makes it more vulnerable to Tapu Lele. But you have to. Yeah, there it is. There it is. It's your only choice. You've got to add energy or you can't attack, right? Oh, the Cyrus. Italian Psyduck's just getting everything they need. They're just getting all the tools. We see the poke go down onto the Giratina. And Giratina just powers up. Yeah, they're not going to do any Tapu Lele shenanigans. Yeah, they're not worried about that. They're just powering up the Giratina, getting ready to sweep. Getting ready to sweep, bring that in, start dealing some massive damage. It's looking pretty good for the Italian Psyduck, but it's not over. It's not over, because you got to remember, Giratina Darkrai is a good deck for a reason. It's very consistent. It's very strong. Darkrai poke on a Greninja. Greninja could go down to a Darkrai attack right now. It could. Could absolutely. Tapu Lele would too. Giratina powers up, gets more energy. Right? You're not going to win the race against their Giratina, but can their Giratina survive you? And what happens if it doesn't? You know, so this isn't over by any stretch. Solar Beam Syndicate could take this game. They have options. All right, the Rocky Helmet is going to deter some attacks, but they weren't going to attack this turn anyway. A little bit early to be using that, actually. They might just be trying to reduce their hand size. All right, a second Giratina. Italian Psyduck decides that's not very useful. Going to shuffle it out. Gets a Greninja. That's fine. I would have waited on that a little bit, but it's, you know, they could have gotten a Froakie, potentially. All right, we see the retreat into Tapu Lele. That's an interesting choice. I would have thought you'd retreat into Gira, maybe, but I think they're worried about losing the Giratina pressure, right? As long as Giratina's in the back, you can pressure kills, but once you lose it, you could go down. And this is what I meant. This is what I meant by Giratina Darkrai still has a chance. Because we could see Giratina retreat here with Leaf. Oh, it's not happening. Oak was played. Yeah, if they had Leaf right here, Giratina could have retreated in Darkrai. Darkrai takes out Tapu Lele. Then your Giratina takes out their Darkrai. Their Darkrai pokes you and they kill you with Giratina. Though I guess they didn't have enough energy for it. Yeah, they'd need one more energy to pull that off. Oh no, the battery! The battery! 10%, plug in your phone, don't lose to that! Is the Italian Psyduck gonna go down to a battery? The phone battery, the most powerful card in the game. There's nothing stronger than your phone battery in Pokemon Pocket, I gotta tell you. Oh no. Oh no, the mighty phone battery. Solar Beam Syndicate, we've seen this during the entire set, but they have always used up all of their clock, to the point where they've actually timed out a few times. Was that actually the 300 IQ move this whole time? Was it all an elaborate trick to cause the Italian Psyduck's phone to run out of battery? I swatted my earphones out of my ears, I'm so excited. Was that the play? Was that the play this entire time? Alright, Greninja pokes the Darkrai in the back. And Giratina is going to go in here. This will deal 40 counterattack damage. 40. They're thinking about Cyrusing, potentially. But you kind of can't in this position. You Cyrus, you lose. Not necessarily, but probably. Because if you Cyrus and take out the Darkrai, then the Giratina comes back in, swats your Giratina, and then what are you doing? Though I guess it kind of can't unless they have red. They'd need trainer card red to do it, I think. Yeah, actually, yeah, there are a few options on the table. I'm actually not sure what the best one is. What do you think the best one is? Do you attack the Giratina or do you play Cyrus? They're thinking about it too. I'm not sure myself. I mean, if you were going to pull in the Darkrai, then why'd you hit it with the Greninja? I feel like that, the team's discussing, the various members of the team are discussing different potential options. I feel like that's what's going on right now. Yeah, 40 counterattack damage for the Rocky Helmet and its own attack, but with 130 health, it should be able to survive Darkrai unless they have red. They would need trainer card red to take it out here. Italian Psyduck is threatening checkmate. They are threatening victory. Do they have trainer card red, though? Darkrai Giratina decks have stopped running that since Guzma. Because Guzma is effectively a better red in most circumstances. Here it is. Here's the poke. Do they have red? Do they have red? Cape doesn't matter. Do you have red? You gotta play it if you have it. Do you have red? That matters, actually. No, it doesn't, actually, because you still lose. Whoa! Whoa! Okay, that matters! That matters! That's enough to survive! That is enough to survive. With 160 health. Yeah. Yeah, that's survivable. Solar Beam Syndicate is not going down without a fight. Wow, that was a turn of healing. If Giratina attacks here, it goes down to Darkrai. I don't even know if they can safely attack. But by the power of Greninja and another Cyrus, they can just bypass the healing and hit the Darkrai in the back. And since I believe that Solar Beam Syndicate did not take out a single prize point during this game, even though Giratina will go down from this attack, this is game. The Italian Psyduck, with their 4th win of this match, is the true gym leader that everyone thought they would be. Seriously. Taking out 2 players, winning 4 games in a row. The Italian Psyduck of the Italian Psyducks has just won this set for their team, defeating the Solar Beam Syndicate. Well played to everybody who got to play today. Well played to every member of the Solar Beam Syndicate. Did a great job. Well played to the Italian Psyducks. This was a lot of fun to watch. Especially those games at the end. Things really picked up in those few games at the end. This was exciting. I hope everybody enjoyed this stream. This was a lot of fun. We're going to be doing another one of these tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow we're going to be watching the Squad Zero. They Oh, I can't describe them. Squad Zero makes some plays that are so crazy that I can't even imagine what the heck they're doing. They win games from impossible positions. Highly recommend it. If you enjoyed this at all, you definitely want to check out tomorrow's stream with Squad Zero. I'm not sure who they're fighting yet, but Squad Zero is a genius team. That being said, enough about them because we're celebrating the Italian Psyducks right now. Well played to the Italian Psyducks. Crazy good. They've managed to defeat the Solar Beam Syndicate with their gym leader winning in fantastic fashion. I tip my hat to the Italian Psyducks, and thank you so much for inviting me to stream this and cast this. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this. The Italian Psyducks did an amazing job. Really cool team. And it's so cool to see all these different international teams fighting together and playing Pokemon Pocket, strategizing, coming up with different decks. I hope everybody had a good time. That's all for now. And this is the Sneaky Dragon, and I'll catch you later. Hey, congrats! Oh, yeah, sure, it was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me. Yeah, absolutely. Bye.